Good afternoon and welcome to Assembly Committee on Commerce and Labor. Secretary, will you please take roll?
Assemblywoman Backus. Assemblyman Carter.
Present.
Assemblywoman Duran.
Here.
Assemblywoman Hardy.
Here.
Assemblywoman Howdicke.
Here.
Assemblywoman Kasama.
Here.
Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno.
Here.
Assemblyman O'Neill.
Here.
Assemblywoman Torres.
Here.
Assemblyman Yeager. Assemblyman Urick.
Here.
Chair Marzola.
And I am here. Please mark Mr. Speaker absent excused. Thank you everyone for joining us today here in Carson City, everyone in Las Vegas, and anyone listening over the phone lines. Today we are going to hear three bills: Senate Bill 106, Senate Bill 131, and Senate Bill 134. I will not be taking those in order. Before we get started, I do have a few housekeeping announcements. Please turn off or silent all your electronic devices, whether computers, telephones. If you wish to testify, please sign in by the door. If you have a business card, please provide one. If you have handouts for the committee, please provide 20 copies to the committee secretary prior to your testimony. For those testifying online, please be sure to mute your microphone when you are not speaking. When you're testifying, please turn on your microphone, state and spell your name for the record. I expect courtesy and respect in all our interactions in this committee. And with that, we will go to our first agenda item, which is Senate Bill 131. Majority Leader, you may begin when you're ready. This measure revises provisions relating to reproductive health. And before we get started, I just want to give the lay of the land. We will take 30 minutes in testimony in support, 30 minutes in testimony in opposition, and 30 minutes testimony in neutral. Each person will get to speak for 2 minutes. And with that, Majority Leader, you may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Nicole Cannizzaro, and I represent Senate District 6 in the northwest portion of the Las Vegas Valley, and I'm very pleased to be here today to present to you Senate Bill 131. Senate Bill 131 seeks to codify former Governor Steve Sisolak's Executive Order 2022-08, which provides further abortion protections and reproductive freedom in the state of Nevada. For nearly 50 years, the right to privacy and control over one's own body, including the right to seek an abortion, was widely understood and accepted to be a protected right under the United States Constitution. The legal status quo that existed for 50 years under Roe v. Wade and Casey v. Planned Parenthood was supported by the majority of Americans and the overwhelming majority of Nevadans. It was by no means perfect, but it served the country well, providing nationwide legal stability and protection for women and allowing people to seek reproductive care without undue government interference. Unfortunately, as many of you know, last summer, the United States Supreme Court upended 50 years of precedent, which, as a lawyer, and I think I have said this now in multiple committees on this particular topic, is just unheard of. That just doesn't happen. It's the whole reason why precedent exists. In a decision that is commonly referred to as the Dobbs case, the Supreme Court enforced the wishes of a very extreme ideological minority and took the rare step of completely erasing an established constitutional right. In doing so, the court massively expanded government power and the government's ability to control Americans' bodily autonomy. Under the new Dobbs legal framework, the regulation of abortion and reproductive health care has been returned entirely to the states. And some of those results have, quite frankly, been horrific. After Ohio put in place one of the most restrictive abortion bans in the country, last summer, the case of a 10-year-old rape victim forced to travel to Indiana for an abortion made national news. Court filings have shown that at least 2 other Ohio minors made pregnant by sexual assault have been forced to leave that state so they wouldn't be forced to carry their rapist's baby. The same story played out in Mississippi this fall, where the family of a teenage rape victim was forced to travel more than 500 miles to get their daughter the care she needed after discovering the state's only abortion clinic had closed. Mississippi law bans abortion after 6 weeks, even in cases of rape and before many women would even know that they are pregnant. And for anybody who has ever had a child, 6 weeks is before you even know that you are pregnant. In Texas and in other states, there have been numerous cases of women denied timely care for major complications like ectopic pregnancies because doctors and hospitals fear repercussions under restrictive state abortion bans and are unclear as to what sort of medical care may expose them to criminal liability. Delaying timely, medically necessary care has forced women to forego safer abortion procedures and wait days or even months for a dangerous miscarriage or other immediately life-threatening conditions to arise, while all the time knowing that a pregnancy was not viable. The impact of these other states' restrictions and barriers to access is significant. For example, women of color, low income, and those living in rural parts of the country are more likely to face barriers to accessing reproductive health care, which can lead to higher rates of unintended pregnancy, maternal mortality, mental and emotional damage, and other very adverse health conditions. Nevada's current statutory protections were put in place in 1990, when Nevadans overwhelmingly approved Question 7, which protects most abortion procedures and an individual's right to choose. More recently, Nevada laws were amended in 2019 through Senate Bill 179, also known as the Trust Nevada Women Act. These changes aligned informed consent laws with current medical standards of care, removed outdated criminal penalties, and repealed outdated statutes that prohibited the use of medication to end a pregnancy. As the laws in other states become more backwards and more restrictive, women will be forced to take even more drastic measures to protect themselves. In many cases, that will mean, for the state of Nevada, that women are coming here to seek out safe abortion procedures. And it is already happening. Las Vegas and Reno are already seeing an influx of patients from out of state. The number of out-of-state patients at clinics in the Las Vegas area, for example, has doubled since last July. Clinics across the state are seeing patients coming from Idaho, Texas, Arizona, Utah, and even as far away as the East Coast. And our providers expect those numbers to increase. While this new situation is unfolding, there are extremist politicians and allies across the country who are not simply content to outlaw abortion and the right to access to health care, reproductive health care, within their own states. They plan to push their new ability to use state power to the limits in the quest to eradicate reproductive freedoms nationwide, targeting patients, providers, and anyone who assists them. The governor of Virginia, for example, helped kill proposed legislation to enhance data privacy protections for women who use apps to track their menstrual cycles. It was a bipartisan bill that was designed to protect that data from being used to prosecute women seeking reproductive care, but it didn't make it. Legislators in Texas have considered new bills to increase the power of local district attorneys to prosecute abortion providers, penalize organizations that may help Texans to receive abortion medication via the internet, criminally punish companies that financially support out-of-state abortion travel, and expand private rights of action for anyone who assists a Texan in seeking an abortion out of state. Legislators in Missouri and elsewhere have looked at bills that seek to ban out-of-state abortions, bills whose sole purpose is to harass patients and the providers, family members, friends, and organizations that may support them. And think about that for a moment. Think about if another state were seeking to outlaw something that happens in Nevada. That's what we're talking about. While most of these bills are still being discussed, some of them have stalled, we have seen repeatedly that when it comes to restricting reproductive freedom, this is something that we are going to face on a regular basis, and it can end up on the governor's desk in the not-too-distant future if we are not vigilant. And it's these new threats arising across the country that Senate Bill 131 is working to address. In the wake of the Dobbs case, Governor Steve Sisolak signed an executive order on June 28th of 2022, which prohibited state agencies from assisting other states to prosecute a person receiving reproductive health services in Nevada. It limited extradition of a person who is charged with the violation of another state's law relating to reproductive health care services, and prevented certain state boards from disciplining their licensees for providing services related to reproductive health care. As of today, this executive order remains in place, and that is a good thing. But patients coming to Nevada, Nevadans seeking treatment, and our healthcare providers operating here cannot continue to just rely on an executive order. Executive orders can be withdrawn with the stroke of a pen at any moment. And so Senate Bill 131 will further strengthen reproductive rights in Nevada because it codifies those protections in that executive order right into our state statute. Madam Chair, with your permission, I would like to provide an overview of the provisions of this bill and walk through those sections.
Please.
Thank you. First, as it is defined throughout the bill, reproductive health care services includes medical, surgical, counseling, or referral services relating to the human reproductive system, including, without limitation, services relating to pregnancy, contraception, the termination of pregnancy, or any procedure or care found by a competent medical professional to be appropriate based on the wishes of a patient and in accordance with Nevada laws. Section 1 prohibits healthcare licensing boards from disqualifying a licensee or subjecting a licensee to discipline solely because the licensee provided or assisted in providing reproductive healthcare services or was subject to judgment, discipline, or other sanction from another state for providing or assisting in providing certain reproductive healthcare services if the services provided would have been lawful and consistent with practice standards of the relevant profession in Nevada. Section 1 I want to just touch on because this was a topic of conversation in the Senate. This would not allow for a medical provider who is providing incompetent or inconsistent care with their scope of practice that is not up to the proper medical standards of care from being disciplined as a provider. What this section does is that it protects providers who would otherwise be completely compliant within their standards of care, living up to their licensing requirements, providing competent, medically accurate care from being subject to discipline just because they provide reproductive health care. I want to just be very clear about that because I think that when we went over this, there was some indication that this would allow for rampant medical malpractice to just take place or for boards to completely lose the ability to discipline any licensee, and that is not what this section does. It is solely because the licensee provides those reproductive health care services or in another state, because they were providing those reproductive health care services, they were subject to discipline. That is it. It's very narrow. Section 2 prohibits the governor from surrendering or issuing a warrant of arrest for a person in Nevada who is charged in another state with a criminal violation if the alleged violation involves providing, assisting, or receiving reproductive health care services, unless such acts would constitute a criminal offense under Nevada laws. In addition, Section 2 excludes from this prohibition circumstances where executive authority of another state demands the surrender of a person who is physically present in the demanding state at the time of the commission of the alleged offense and then fled from that state. Section 3 prohibits state agencies in the executive department from providing information or the use of certain resources to assist in investigation or proceeding that is initiated in another state related to providing, assisting, or receiving reproductive health care services, except under very limited certain circumstances. And finally, Section 4 requires healthcare licensing boards to examine the feasibility of providing opportunities for licensure for reciprocity to providers of healthcare who provide reproductive healthcare services in other states. The objective of this is to facilitate the provisions of quality reproductive healthcare services to persons from other states who seek reproductive healthcare services in Nevada. Madam Chair, members of the committee, reproductive rights are an essential aspect of individual freedom and autonomy. While other states have seen and will continue to see draconian anti-choice and anti-freedom laws proposed and passed, what Senate Bill 131 does is sends a message that reproductive freedom is respected here, and that is consistent with Nevada law. We believe that patients and healthcare providers should have access to that healthcare, and we believe that those patients and healthcare providers should be safe and welcome in Nevada. Madam Chair, that concludes my remarks. I would urge the committee's support of Senate Bill 131, and I'd be happy to take any questions that you or members of the committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us today and for also bringing this bill forward, such an important piece of legislation. And with that, committee members, are there any questions? Assemblywoman Kasama.
Thank you, Chair. Senator, can you just clarify for the record whether the current Nevada law permits a 14 or 15-year-old to get an abortion without the parent being made aware of or providing their consent?
Thank you for the question. Through you, Madam Chair, to Assemblywoman Kasama.
And you can go direct.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nicole Canizaro, Senate District 6. I want to be very clear about Senate Bill 131. Senate Bill 131 does not change Nevada's abortion access laws whatsoever. So whatever is currently permitted under Nevada law remains currently permitted under Nevada law. What Senate Bill 131 is doing is saying that if what you are doing in Nevada is legal, you're a provider who's providing legal care, reproductive health care, you're a patient who's seeking that care, reproductive health care, if that care is legal in Nevada, then we are not going to assist another state with extradition so that they can prosecute you, or with providing them with all of your medical information so that they can prosecute you for something that you did while you were in Nevada. And that if you are a healthcare provider who is providing legal, competent care, you are not going to be subject to discipline just because it's reproductive health care. And if you are a provider who's looking to come here, we would support you. That is what this does. It does not touch any of the current Nevada law. So whatever is current under Nevada law and is permissible under Nevada law remains the case. This does not change that. It just says that we are not going to be part of the prosecution for anybody who may seek what is already legal care here in Nevada.
Follow up? Go ahead. Thank you. I didn't hear an answer to my question. Is it current under Nevada law that a 14 or 15-year-old can get an abortion without a parent being made aware of it or providing their consent?
Thank you for the question, Assemblywoman Kasama. Nicole Canizaro, Senate District 6 for the record. Again, I won't speak to what is current under Nevada law, but if it is currently legal under Nevada law, then that remains the case. This bill does not touch any piece or parcel of who can access abortion care, who can access reproductive care, or how that is obtained. It just says that if it is legal in Nevada, we are not going to assist another state with prosecuting you for that.
And Assemblywoman, we can have legal answer that question for you.
Can legal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sam Quas, Committee Counsel. I actually don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. I'm going to look it up and I'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Assemblywoman Hardy.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Senator. And so my question is, I'm going to look at Section 2 and Section 3. And if I'm reading this correctly, it would prohibit any state agency from participating in another state's investigation and prohibits the governor from extraditing anyone for getting an abortion here in Nevada as long as the type of abortion performed is legal in the state. So recently, Idaho passed into law HB 242, which established the crime of abortion trafficking. In that bill, abortion trafficking would be transporting a minor across state lines in order to obtain an abortion. And once in Nevada, abortions, we're having the discussion that parental consent is not required. So my concern is this bill would allow perpetrators that are sex trafficking minors to bring them into our state, and there's no protection for those victims. Rather, this bill would give protection to the sex traffickers, and that's my concern. We passed legislation in this body to end sex trafficking, protect sex trafficking victims, and so Section 2 and Section 3 of this bill appear that we would be protecting the perpetrators and not the victims. If you could address that, thank you.
Thank you for the question, Assemblywoman Hardy. Nicole Canizaro, Senate District 6. So first of all, I want to be very clear that what this particular bill is doing is codifying what is current law in Nevada as of the enactment in June of 2022 by Governor Sisolak of Executive Order 2022-08. That executive order is still in effect in Nevada. Now, the difference between Senate Bill 131 and this executive order is that an executive order can be done away with by simply the governor deciding that he wants to withdraw that executive order. Governor Lombardo has not done that yet. So this remains the law in the state of Nevada currently. Senate Bill 131 is a codification of exactly that executive order. So first and foremost, I think it's important because we have heard a lot of conspiracy theories about how if abortion is accessible in Nevada, then we are going to be the site for abortion tourism, that somehow we are going to promote sex trafficking of young girls. I spent over a decade of my career as a prosecutor. I am very familiar with the many things and facets that go into sex trafficking and how it is that you may or may not be able to address those. This bill does not touch on that, does not open that up, and to have an argument otherwise, I think, buys into something that has nothing to do with the language of Senate Bill 131. There is nothing in Senate Bill 131 that would prevent or require the state of Nevada to not participate in a sex trafficking issue. Sex trafficking is illegal in Nevada currently. We have many laws on this. There are many cases where people have been accused of, convicted of, and are sitting in prison for sex trafficking in Nevada, despite the fact that for at least since 1990, abortion has been accessible and legal in Nevada and remains the case even before the Dobbs decision. That has been true since June of 2022. This does not change that. And so the idea that somehow passing Senate Bill 131 is going to enable these nefarious criminal actors to engage in what is already criminal conduct is belied by the very language of Senate Bill 131, by the language of the executive order, and by what is current Nevada law. So there is nothing about this that talks about us not proceeding or participating in sex trafficking prosecutions. It doesn't repeal Nevada's sex trafficking laws itself, and that would still be within the purview of law enforcement to tackle. What this bill does is say if you come to Nevada and you are engaging in pursuing health care, reproductive health care that is legal in the state of Nevada, and another state says, hey, in our state, access to an abortion is illegal. So what we want to do when you come back to our state is prosecute you for that we are not going to participate in that. That would be akin to another state saying, gambling is illegal in our state. You went to Las Vegas. You spent a weekend in Las Vegas and you gambled. You gambled at the tables, you gambled at the machines, you won money, you lost money, you bet on sports or on horses, and none of that is legal in our state. So when you come back to our state, we're going to prosecute you for all those actions that you did in Nevada. And somehow, because we're not going to participate in something like that, that opens up all kinds of other criminal acts that have nothing to do with the fact that you were gambling. That's the example that I think makes a lot of sense because we live in Nevada. I've been born and raised in Nevada. There are a lot of people who think it's crazy that somebody would live in Las Vegas and live in a place where gambling is legal. And so don't we all just gamble and aren't we all just, taking illegal bets and things like that? And that's just not true. That's not true for so many of us who were born and raised here, who live here, who tell people we live in a state where gambling is legal. And that's very similar to what we're doing here. We're just saying that if what you did in Nevada was legal under Nevada law, then it was legal under Nevada law. If you're engaging in sex trafficking, that's illegal under Nevada law, and that's still prosecutable.
Assemblywoman Backus.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and thank you, Majority Leader, for bringing this bill. You actually answered my question that I had with respect to the status of the executive order. But so with that, I think I'll just utilize this opportunity to just make a statement and say, thank you for looking out for our doctors who are just practicing medicine in the state of Nevada. And that seems clearly what SB 131 is doing. And so I'm grateful to you. And this bill, and you raised the Trust Women Act from 2019. And I remember when that bill passed and standing on the floor thinking, I can't believe certain states are taking steps that were so draconian and looking at how those laws that states were implementing were really going to affect the lower economic individuals. And so I wish SB 131 could do more for those individuals. And then I was completely shocked last summer. And with that, I mean, at the doors, bipartisan support of access to reproductive health care. And so bills like this, I know my constituents, both sides of the party, which I guess I get to share with you as well, will probably be really pleased that you're bringing this bill. So thank you, Majority Leader.
Assemblyman O'Neill.
Thank you, Chair. I was hoping you'd give me a little more time because I'm trying to phrase this into a question, Senator. And I think, so help me understand, educate me, if you would or can, please. Hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago, in the Assembly floor, we voted on Senate Joint Resolution 7, which deals, to me, the verbiage may be different, but the two bills, or that resolution and the bill you're proposing today, except for the verbiage, have the identical intent. Here's where my confusion comes, what I need help on. So if this bill passes, we are passing a bill that we are going to ask the people to vote on to put in the Constitution, and we're influencing them on the vote. Basically, the support of that vote would be, this is already a statute, put it into the Constitution, your representatives have voted on it, instead of letting the people of the state of Nevada make their choice on this. Did that come out properly to you?
Yes, thank you for the question, Assemblyman Nicole Cannizzaro, Senate District 6. So I think I'll start with talking about why these two pieces of legislation are different, because while they touch on the same subject, they accomplish different things. So Senate Joint Resolution number 7 is an initiative to allow for the voters of Nevada to determine whether or not the right to access reproductive health care in its many and varied forms, be that abortion access, birth control, vasectomy, tubal ligation, infertility treatments, pregnancy care, whether or not that should be a fundamental constitutional right. Establishing rights in a constitution gives us those fundamental rights. When somebody has a right, then when a legislative body or any other body that can enact an administrative law, a regulation, any sort of city or county or township ordinance, when those laws may touch upon that right, you may have certain restrictions. So, for example, you may have the right to free speech. There are limitations to that. When and how those limitations interplay with that fundamental right, or the right to practice your religion. When laws are implemented, then they're measured against that right. And depending on what kind of a right, or depending on what sort of a constitutional violation may occur through the enactment of a particular law, or by the actions of someone who is infringing upon those rights, and we'll kind of talk maybe just about a law, then a court in determining that will weigh whether or not the proposed piece of legislation, for the purposes of our example, infringes upon that right, and they can apply various tests to that. For a fundamental constitutional right, you're talking about strict scrutiny, which means it has to be a fundamental right, and any law that may touch upon that right has to be very narrowly tailored to achieve a compelling state interest. So you can't do it for any reason. You can't say, well, historically we've done it this way. That's not good enough. You have to have a very compelling state reason, and you have to have that very narrowly tailored to that compelling state reason to accomplish that. And so what Senate Joint Resolution number 7 is doing is not putting into place a particular statute in Nevada. It's saying we have this right to reproductive health care. And so anything that may touch on that, would be subject to that same test. Is it a compelling state interest, and is it very narrowly tailored, using the least restrictive means to achieve that interest? It doesn't enact a piece of legislation saying you must do X. It's saying we have this right, and here's how a court's going to evaluate it. And that's something that Nevadans should vote on, and that's what Senate Joint Resolution number 7 is doing. Senate Joint Resolution number 7 does not touch Nevada's current law, right? It may affect what Nevada's current law is if it were to be challenged in court and if a court were to find that it was in violation of a fundamental right, but it's not enacting a particular statute. It's saying that there is an affirmative right to something, just like the freedom of speech, but there may be certain statutes, right, that then may prohibit certain speech in certain areas or whatever the case might be. What Senate Bill 131 is doing is saying that under current Nevada law, there is a statute that was passed by the voters in 1990 that allows for a patient to seek an abortion up to 24 weeks. This doesn't change that. It allows for providers to provide reproductive health care in a variety of facets, including abortion care, including if someone presents in an emergency room and is suffering from a miscarriage and they need to deal with miscarriage management, or there's an ectopic pregnancy or an unviable pregnancy or whatever the case might be. Those providers currently are operating within their scope of practice, they're operating pursuant to their license, and they're operating within Nevada law. What Senate Bill 131 is saying is that if you're doing those things, you're operating within Nevada law, current Nevada law, then what we're not going to do is allow for another state to come in and say, what you did in Nevada when it was legal, we're now going to prosecute you for. And so they're doing two different things, even though they touch on the same subject. One is the establishment of a right. One is saying that we're setting some parameters around how we are going to participate in or not participate in criminal prosecutions against individuals who are seeking care in Nevada or providers who are providing care in Nevada that is already legal under Nevada law. And so you're not, if you were to pass Senate Bill 131, it is independent of whether or not you believe that Senate Joint Resolution number 7 or the right to reproductive health care should be a fundamental constitutional right. They both can exist independently, they both could exist together. I hope that answers your question a little bit.
It does, and actually it opens up so much more conversation that you and I could spend the entire day here. And I appreciate it. I just feel that we're putting the cart in front of the horse. The resolution, the right should be if it's established by the vote of the people, and then this law should come along second is where my confusion. But I do appreciate it. I'll probably catch up with you. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Of course. Committee members, any additional questions? Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I don't have a question, just a clarification. So the people spoke in the 90s, and reproductive health care abortion rights are protected here in Nevada by statute. What SJR 7 will do is take it back to the voters and say, do you want to make sure that this is part of our Constitution? They can vote against it, they can vote for it. But the legislation that we have before us today is to protect those doctors to do their job without any threats. Is that correct?
Thank you for that question, Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno. Nicole Canizaro, Senate District 6. That is absolutely correct. And a lot of the reason why this committee is frankly hearing this bill is that we have providers. We have very few providers in Nevada. That is true not just for reproductive care. That is true across the board. I know this committee is very familiar with that conversation, being that most of the licensing pieces and legislation that touches on that comes before this committee. We have very few providers. What we do not want, and what I don't think we can tolerate, is a provider who is afraid to provide care, especially in a critical moment. And we are seeing this in other states. This is not some, story that is made up to terrorize or to scare individuals. There are other states where providers are trying to figure out from legal counsel whether they can provide care to someone who presents in an emergency room, bleeding and suffering, and near death's door because they're afraid that if they provide that care, they're going to be subject to criminal prosecution. I don't think in Nevada can afford to do that for a number of reasons. Number one, that is a disservice to Nevadans. And number two, that is a disservice to our providers. They're providing competent, legal, medically accurate care. They should be able to do that without the interference of worrying about whether or not another state is going to send over an extradition warrant, asking to have them sent to another state so they can be criminally prosecuted for care that they provided that is legal in Nevada. And so what we want to do is protect those healthcare providers and say to them, look, if you're acting within the scope of your practice, right, you're providing competent care, we're not going to send you across the border to another state so you can be prosecuted. We owe that to them. They are doing their job, and they should be focused on doing their job and providing that care to patients. And for providers who are coming to Nevada to practice reproductive health care, if they were subject to something in another state just because they were providing something that one day was legal and after the Dobbs decision was not, that we want them here. We want them to come here. We want them to practice. We want them to provide that care. And Nevadans need that care very desperately. So yes, you are correct.
Assemblywoman Torres.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Senator, for bringing forth this piece of legislation, having this conversation today, and talking about some of that history, right? And I just really want to clarify that, because I think you've stated it, but I just want it to be very clear that we're currently providing this as a state. We have continued to ensure this, but this is making sure that it's in statute. Like, this is completely separate of some of the other pieces of legislation we've looked at separately this legislative cycle and in the past, right? This has nothing to do with taking away powers from our community. Our constituents elected us to be here to help create policy just like this, right? And this is just putting those regulations into statute. Is that correct?
Yes, Assemblywoman Torres. Nicole Canizaro, Senate District 6. Thank you for that question. You are absolutely correct. I would remind everyone that this executive order currently stands right as of this moment. If Senate Bill 131 were to pass, we'd be in exactly the same place that we are right now. And so we're asking that rather than an executive order, we give something that is stable and secure in the form of a statute. But it changes nothing about the current status quo, and so you are absolutely correct.
Members, any additional questions? I don't see any. So we will move to testimony and support. I just want to remind everyone that I will be giving 30 minutes of testimony in support, which means it's 10 minutes here in Carson City, 10 minutes in Las Vegas, and 10 minutes over the phone. Each person will have 2 minutes. Please remember to state and spell your name for the record. And you may begin when you're ready.
Hello. My name is Vivian Leal, Vivian-Leal. For decades, Nevadans have been clear about reproductive freedom and bodily autonomy. We do not force people to give birth. However, despite the legal protections that we have consistently strengthened, as Senator Canizaro just described, even as other states impose the will of the lawmakers on pregnant people's bodies, often risking their lives, we have struggled with keeping abortion accessible for everyone in our state, not just for those that have funds and can travel to Vegas or Reno for care. We don't have enough providers, not just for abortion, but for reproductive care and childbirth. We don't. How do we get people to come here? A few years ago, I toured Reno's only surgical abortion clinic for a lot of those desperate cases with its head nurse and surgeon. It was an education in how brutal and terrifying the threats, abuse, and harassment they endure every day while protecting and caring for the women who come from all over the state. They work in a fortress. It takes conviction. It shouldn't have to. We already suffer from a brutal provider deficit. The uncertainty around abortion laws in the countries gives providers pause when deciding where to practice. I've heard from many, many young doctors wanting to resettle in Nevada, but this gives them pause. In fact, many physicians are leaving states with abortion bans, and a new generation of doctors is evaluating where to train as residents and practice as doctors. We must be unequivocal that Nevada will protect pregnant people regardless of where they come from, but also to assure OBGYNs that it is safe to come here to practice, to raise their families, and that we will shield them from prosecution from other states who would force doctors to make decisions that endanger the lives of their patients, the clinics at which they provide care, or their lives. SB 31 helps to do that. Please pass it.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Brianna Escamilla, Briana Escamilla, for the record, and I'm here on behalf of Planned Parenthood of the Rocky Mountains, which serves Southern Nevada. Our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Christina Tossi, submitted some written testimony in support of SB 131, and I'd like to share some of her words with you now. She writes, "At Planned Parenthood of the Rocky Mountains, our patients are our top priority. We have seen firsthand the detrimental and cruel impact abortion bans have on pregnant people. Since the fall of Roe, our health centers have seen thousands of out-of-state patients for abortion care, many who have traveled hundreds of miles by car or by plane for the first time in their lives, requiring them to leave their support systems behind in order to access safe and legal abortion care in our region. For the first time in my medical career, I am tasked with taking patients' travel itineraries into account when moving forward with a care plan." She goes on to share a few examples of patients who needed to travel out of state to access abortion care and would need the protections of SB 131. Here are a few of them. "I recently saw a patient with a diagnosis of aggressive recurrent cancer. Already a mother of a young daughter, she timed her second pregnancy to coincide with her cancer's remission. However, in her second trimester, the cancer returned and immediate chemotherapy and radiation was recommended treatment. However, she could not receive these interventions while pregnant. Unable to obtain abortion care in her home state, she traveled 13 plus hours each way to access abortion care." A second example. "A couple in their early 20s drove 17 hours each way to access abortion care. They made the trip without stopping and without their cell phones because they did not want to be tracked by family members. They commented to me that it was a tremendous relief to arrive in a safe haven state because along their drive they encountered multiple anti-abortion billboards. They were exhausted. Hopefully they made their return trip safely." The providers who serve these patients also need protections of SB 131 as they provide essential abortion access. Patient health needs should drive all medical decisions.
Ma'am, if you can just wrap up here.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We urge you to support SB 131. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Daniela Reynolds, D-A-N-I-E-L-L-A, Reynolds, R-E-Y-N-O-L-D-S. SB 131 is not a bill about the morality of abortions or individual body autonomy. It is about how our Nevada government will choose to represent its constituents who stood up and said enough is enough. We want the liberty promised to us in the founding of our great country. SB 131 reaffirms that liberty by allowing doctors to be doctors and patients to be autonomous. Who will this legislative body be when given the opportunity to set an example for the nation? It is the right to care and be cared for. The right to not be prosecuted because you're seeking care or a trained medical professional seeking to provide that care. If we mistrust by prosecuting healthcare professionals for simply doing their job, are we saying we don't trust them? How can we trust them to manage the rest of our care? How can we hope to have educated, caring, brave physicians if they have to spend their nights worrying if tomorrow is the day they not only lose their livelihood, but their freedom? Furthermore, let us set an example that we not only understand what the Founding Fathers were gifting us, but that we support and honor that gift by ensuring we will not help or cooperate with any state who seeks to prosecute anyone for pursuing their right to liberty and getting a safe and legal abortion. Before you vote, consider who it is we want to be. Who do you want to be? As a committee member, a member of this prestigious legislative body, as a citizen of the great state of Nevada, what is your contribution and legacy going to be? Please codify SB 131.
Good afternoon. Alexander Marks of the Nevada State Education Association. We stand in support of Senate Bill 131 to strengthen protections for providers of reproductive health care and patients who need it without fear of prosecution by another state. NSCA and our national affiliate, the National Education Association, have a long history of advocating for the rights of our members, 78% of which are women. That includes advocacy on behalf of their reproductive freedoms. SB 131 falls directly in line with a 1978 resolution from the NEA that reads, the National Education Association believes in family planning, including the right to reproductive freedom, falls right in line with that. As such, we stand in strong support of SB 131.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Christine Saunders, and I'm the Policy Director with the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada, here in support of Senate Bill 131. At Plan, we believe in the tenets of reproductive justice, the human right to maintain personal bodily autonomy, have children, not have children, and parent the children we have in safe and sustainable communities. The National Black Women's Reproductive Justice Agenda states that that right can only be achieved when we have complete economic, social, and political power and resources to make healthy decisions about our bodies, our families, and our communities in all areas of our lives. Anti-abortion politicians will not stop with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, and we have seen attempts across the nation since then to further criminalize private healthcare decisions. As a state who has held up the right to abortion for my entire lifetime, it behooves this legislature to ensure we are not only protecting the rights of Nevadans to receive abortion care, but protecting the data and privacy of anyone who seeks abortion care in our state. This is a necessary step to affirming Nevada's values of reproductive freedom and ensuring that access to abortion for our out-of-state patients will continue uninterrupted no matter what bans other states enact. We urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you. We have time for one more.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Annette Magnus, and I am the Executive Director of Battleborn Progress. We are here today in strong support of SB 131. In Nevada, we value the rights and freedoms to make decisions about if or when we want to have children. That includes the right and freedom to obtain an abortion safely. When Roe v. Wade was overturned last year, many states, including those neighboring Nevada, swiftly moved to crack down on the rights of their residents, outlawing or heavily restricting access to abortion. Naturally, this led to some patients coming to Nevada, where thankfully we uphold those rights. Unfortunately, the restrictive abortion bans in some states include measures to prosecute their residents who make the trek out of state. The Nevada legislature has before them a chance to codify these protections into law with SB 131 for everyone. We think they should do so in order to provide legal assurance to Nevadans that their right to access abortion is protected, and so we may continue to be a safe haven for those risking so much to travel here. We want to thank Majority Leader Cannizzaro for her work in bringing this important bill forward, and just a note, this is the woman who taught me everything I know about this, so thank you for her to be here too.
Thank you. So I just want to remind everyone that does not get a chance to testify today, that you can turn in your testimony to the committee secretary. We'll make sure the committee gets it, and it's uploaded. If we have time left, I'm going to go to Las Vegas. I'm going to go to the phones. If we have any time left within the 30 minutes of support, I will come back to Carson City. We will now go to Las Vegas. Please remember to state and spell your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready. You have 2 minutes each.
My name is Caroline Mello Robertson, Caroline Mello Roberson. I'm the Southwest Regional Director for NARAL Pro-Choice America and the lead staffer in Nevada, here to register our support for Senate Bill 131. NARAL Pro-Choice Nevada is a nonprofit advocacy organization dedicated to advancing reproductive freedom for all Nevadans through legislative, political, and community organizing. NARAL has organizers in Nevada that allow us to organize in the community, and we've been on the ground here since 2016 when we had more than 900 members. Now, through our door-to-door outreach, phone banking, online actions, and community events, we have recruited more than 48,000 members across the state and are growing every day. In the aftermath of the U.S. Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade, Nevada has been playing a crucial role in our region for those seeking abortion care because they have been blocked from accessing it in their home state. Now, many states bordering Nevada, like Idaho, Utah, and Arizona, have implemented bans on abortion. Reproductive freedom is in a crisis like never before across the country and here in Nevada. As a state with voter-affirmed right to abortion, we must explore every avenue we can to protect our reproductive freedom, and that's exactly why this bill is so important. We're grateful to Majority Leader Cannizzaro for championing this legislation. Our 48,000 members are ready to get to work by her side to fight for it to become a law. We urge you to vote for this without delay. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Laura Campbell, Laura-Campbell. I am a board member for Nevada Now and Planned Parenthood Votes Nevada. I am testifying in support of SB 131. Codifying Governor Sisolak's executive orders into law would mean that we trust people to make their healthcare choices, and we trust doctors to do what is best for their patients without the risk of legal actions from their home state who may have outlawed abortion. I recently found out I was 6 weeks pregnant after having my tubes tied. My doctor knew my health history and knew why I didn't want to be pregnant ever again, and supported my choice to have a medical abortion. Everyone should be supported in their healthcare decisions just as I was. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Leanne McAllister, Leann McAllister. I am the Executive Director of the Nevada chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics. The American Academy of Pediatrics policy affirms that it is an adolescent's right to choose the outcome of their pregnancy and the people who should be involved. Further, this bill is critical in ensuring that doctors and other medical experts be protected to provide legal and evidence-based medicine. Thank you so much.
Chair, members of the committee, my name is Lindsay Harmon. That's Lindseyharmon, and I am the Executive Director for Planned Parenthood Votes Nevada, for the record. SB 131 is a critical piece of legislation that honors the people I am so proud to name as my friends and colleagues. When I reflect on where we've been over the last few years, I'm reminded of the heroes who worked countless hours, held the hands of loved ones when we couldn't be there, and continued to give top quality care in spite of the intense pressure of a global pandemic. Healthcare providers in this country and in Nevada deserve our utmost respect and admiration. This bill does just that. It shows doctors that Nevada stands by them, that we see them as the professionals they are, and demonstrates that even in the aftermath of the U.S. Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade, Nevada understands the crucial role we play for those traveling to seek abortion care. As a state with a voter-affirmed right to abortion, we must explore every avenue we can to protect reproductive freedom and to protect the healthcare professionals who provide it. SB 131 would protect the licensing of reproductive healthcare providers in the state, explore licensing reciprocity, and prohibit the state from extraditing reproductive healthcare providers. This crucial legislation will also bar the state from participating in investigations into certain reproductive healthcare services. This bill is critically important, and we are so honored to show our support for this bill today as we stand with Nevadans healthcare providers. Thank you.
Hello, thank you. My name is Kylene Capri-Cohn, Kileen Kapri-Kohn. I'm a volunteer for NARAL. I also volunteer for Planned Parenthood. RBG once said that it is essential for a woman's equality with man that she be the decision maker, that her choice be controlling. If you impose restraints that impede her choice, you are disadvantaging her because of her sex. On January 22, 1973, the Supreme Court ruled that the Constitution of the United States protects a pregnant woman's liberty to choose to have an abortion without excessive government restriction. The highest court of our land acknowledged that women are equal, but now they've backtracked and thrown it to the states, and anti-choice laws are making their way through the country, creating a hierarchy. If you have a uterus, you are not equal. Well, I say that Nevada, the state that I have called home since 1997, believes in true equality. Nevada has the opportunity to be a leader in the battle for equality. SB 131 would extend our state protection to those with uteruses who live in states where control and fascist laws are not based in science, and they are injuring and even killing pregnant people. These people are seeking health care in our state because they are being denied the basic human right of body autonomy in their own state. 1 in 4 women will have an abortion by the age of 45. More than half of all U.S. abortion patients are in their 20s and recognize they're not ready to raise a family. 59% of abortions are obtained by patients who have already had at least one birth. 75% of abortion patients have an income level below the federal poverty level. 51% of abortion patients were using a contraceptive method in the month they became pregnant. And nearly 99% of abortions occur before 21 weeks, but when the abortions occur after 21 weeks, it's almost solely due to fetal abnormalities. Women that become pregnant in states where their rights have been taken will seek abortions in Nevada, and these patients, as well as the healthcare providers, deserve legal protection. Amanda and Josh of Texas were thrilled to find out that they were pregnant only to have her water break at 18 weeks. With her baby dying inside of her, she was told by her doctors that their hands were tied and they had to wait
Ma'am?
until she was sepsis before they could, yes.
Ma'am, can you
I'll
please
it
wrap up your testimony?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, we can't control Texas's barbaric, cruel, and draconian laws, but we can protect women like Amanda that seek health care without fear of prosecution. I ask you to do the job we have elected you to do, which is to protect all citizens by passing 131. Thank you.
Thank you. We have time for two
afternoon.
more down in Las Vegas.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Assembly Committee on Commerce and Labor. I am Jazz Margarita Tobin, last name spelled Tobon, as in Nancy, for the record. I am the program manager of the Wild West Access Fund of Nevada, the statewide abortion fund. I directly oversee intake, practical support, and community engagement. Our inception was in June 2021. We have directly funded abortion appointments since then. We are community powered, and we are going to continue funding abortion. The influx of out-of-state callers has only quadrupled since Texas's SB 8, and since the Dobbs ruling, even more. Our program has evolved into including logistical or practical support for our patients out of necessity. It's support defined as anything outside of procedural funding. It's questions like, who will be there who will come with me when I go to my appointment? How will I get there? Where will I lay my head at night? And all of these questions will continue to stir. And if people are fleeing their state in fear of prosecution, they deserve to go to a state where they don't have that fear. Should this piece of legislation not pass, it would directly put myself, my team, the providers we work with every day, their staff on the line. I am testifying to you that we've done everything we can to prepare for that scenario with limited resources and haste and time to protect us. And now we need you to protect us. Please support SB 131, and thank you for the time.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Victoria Ruiz. I am a constituent of Assembly District 28, and I'm here to urge you to support Senate Bill 131. Nevada has always been a state that values personal freedom and autonomy, and this bill is a necessary first step towards affirming those values in the realm of reproductive health care. At a time when other states are enacting increasingly restrictive laws that make it difficult or impossible for people to access abortion care, it is important for Nevada to take a stand and ensure that our state remains a beacon of hope for patients in need. As we all know, trust is crucial in the doctor-patient relationship, and this bill helps to ensure that patients and providers can trust each other and work together to achieve the best possible outcomes. By creating a safe and supportive environment for reproductive health care, we can ensure that patients receive the highest quality of care and that providers are able to do their jobs without fear of interference or harassment. This is not only a matter of protecting the rights and freedoms of patients who seek care here, but also of protecting the rights and freedoms of healthcare providers who may be targeted by anti-abortion lawmakers seeking information or trying to interfere with their ability to provide care. Once again, I urge you to support Senate Bill 131 and help to ensure that Nevada remains a leader in protecting reproductive freedom and ensuring access to abortion for all. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Even though the time is up in Las Vegas, if there's anyone that did not get to testify and you are testifying in support, can you please stand? Unless everyone... Las Vegas. Thank you. We appreciate it. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
Thank you, Chair. Callers, if you'd like to testify in support of Senate Bill 131, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Serena Evans, Serenaevans, and I'm the Policy Director for the Nevada Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence. Reproductive freedom is not just a conversation about choice, it is also a conversation about safety. For victim survivors of domestic and sexual violence, access to reproductive care is essential for their safety planning and their ability to break free from an abuser, which is why I am here today in strong support of Senate Bill 131. Many victim survivors of intimate partner violence experience some form of reproductive coercion. If a victim survivor should find themselves pregnant by their abuser, access to safe, reproductive health care services is an important tool in their overall safety planning and well-being. With the constant attacks on reproductive health care nationwide, it is absolutely imperative that we protect doctors and clients seeking reproductive health care services in Nevada. For many victim survivors, relocating to or seeking care in another state is often part of their overall safety planning, which is strategically mapped out. It is disturbing to think that a victim survivor who relocated or traveled to Nevada to seek reproductive health services could be prosecuted along with the doctor who provided these services. And Assemblywoman Kasama, to your question, perpetrators don't force their victims to get an abortion. They often pressure them into keeping the pregnancy as a means to further control them and make them further dependent on them. The decision to have an abortion is extremely personal and vulnerable, and if a victim survivor chooses to ultimately have an abortion, they likely are not telling their perpetrator for the sake of their overall safety and protecting their choice. We have a duty to protect patients, medical providers, and the overall autonomy of reproductive choice. Senate Bill 131 is a necessary tool for ensuring those seeking reproductive health care are safe to do so, in addition to serving as a tool for violence prevention. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Donna West. I live in Assembly District 14, and I'm here in support of SB 131. I grew up in the days before the Roe v. Wade decision, and I hoped we would never see those days again, but here we are. In those days, 50 years ago, as a teenager, one of my friends became pregnant. She had no access to a safe legal abortion, but like many pregnant people who find themselves having to make that decision about their lives and their futures, she decided that she needed to have that abortion. She took a risk and traveled to another state to have the procedure. Her provider took the risk to perform that medical procedure. She was able to finish high school, graduate college, get married, and today she has 3 children at a time that was right for her. Today, many pregnant people in other states find themselves in the same place as my friend did 50 years ago. Abortion bans in other states do not stop abortions. They put people's lives and health at risk. Those coming to Nevada to seek reproductive health care and abortion should not be subject to prosecution in their home state. Nevada should not participate in that prosecution. Additionally, Nevada must protect those who provide this legal medical procedure here. Thank you, Majority Leader Canizaro, for bringing forward this vital measure to protect out-of-state abortion patients and our own abortion providers. I urge you to vote yes on SB 131. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. My name is Jessica Munger, M-U-N-G-E-R, Program Manager of Silver State Equality, Nevada's statewide LGBTQ+ civil rights organization, and we are in strong support of SB 131. Thank you very much for your consideration on this important topic.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Melody Hudilia. That's spelled MELODYJUDILLA, and I'm the Deputy Director of Silver State Places. I'm calling in strong support of SB 131. The reason why we are in support is simple: self-determination. Like we trust and respect voters to make decisions on the issues they care about at the ballot box, we have to trust and respect individuals to make decisions about their own health care. Passing SB 131 would affirm Nevada's values of reproductive freedom and self-determination. We thank Senate Majority Leader Canizaro for sponsoring this bill, and I urge the committee for their support in SB 131. Thank you.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
We can. You may begin when you're ready. Please state and spell your name for the record.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Alan Morales. For the record, it's AlanMorales, and I am a student at UNLV, and I'm also a resident of Henderson. I'm coming today to testify in favor of SB 131. SB 131 is a necessary first step to affirming Nevada's values of reproductive freedom and ensures access to abortion for out-of-state patients will remain uninterrupted, no matter what bans other states enact. Establishing this law will protect the most vulnerable in our society, especially those who are low income and of color. This is important to ensure reproductive justice for all. Ever since Roe v. Wade was overturned last summer, here in Las Vegas, I've been helping my friends access critical reproductive health care, such as getting access to Plan B pills or birth control. We as Nevadans deserve concrete legal reassurance that our state government will not cooperate with other state governments that are passing and continuing to enforce, quote, abortion bans. Thank you for hearing my concerns. I urge you all to take this into perspective and support SB 131. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Holly Meyer. For the record, it's HOLLIEMEIER. I am a Reno resident and a mother of twin girls who's testifying on behalf of my daughters and all the women that wanted to be here and could not. In fact, when I was on the phone with a friend this morning, she specifically told me to speak up on her behalf because she could not attend, and that is exactly what I'm doing today. I am here in strong support of SB 131, protecting abortion providers and out-of-state patients. When SCOTUS overturned Roe v. Wade, I was beyond disappointed. To go from having reproductive freedom in this country to limited and difficult access for those in over 19 other states was difficult for me to comprehend and to explain to my young daughters. That being said, while Nevada itself continues to provide reproductive freedom to her own residents, we need to be able to protect and assist those individuals that live in states where reproductive freedoms have been severely curtailed, and for all intents and purposes are non-existent. Out-of-state patients and in-state providers should be protected from legal consequences by doing what is right for themselves and their patients. All women should be afforded the right to choose, but since so many other states have taken that away, Nevada should be the state that provides this basic right without legal consequence to the patient and provider. With that being said, please support SB 131.
And that will be our last caller testifying in support. So I'm going to come back to Carson City and ask everyone that did not get to testify if you can please stand. Thank you, everyone. And again, I just want to remind you, if you want to submit your testimony in writing to the committee secretary, I will make sure that everyone gets a copy. I will now move to testimony in opposition to Senate Bill 131. Just as a reminder, it will be 30 minutes of opposition testimony, 10 minutes here in Carson City, 10 minutes in Las Vegas, and 10 minutes over the phone lines. Each person will have 2 minutes. Remember to state and spell your name for the record, and you may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Melissa Clement, MELISSA, CLEMENT. I'm with Nevada Right to Life, but I'm here on my own behalf as well. I was opposed to the poorly written executive order for the same reasons as I am opposed to SB 131. Current Nevada law has a one-parent notification with judicial bypass for a minor girl seeking an abortion, but unfortunately it was enjoined and has never been enforced. So in effect, a child getting an abortion in Nevada does not violate any laws if her parents are not notified or consent. A month ago, Idaho passed HB 242, making abortion trafficking a crime punishable by 2 to 5 years in prison. Abortion trafficking is transporting a minor over the border to another state like Nevada for a secret abortion to avoid parental notification or consent. Idaho wants to protect their children. Who will Nevada protect, girls or abortion traffickers? What type of adult secretly transports someone else's child to Nevada for a surgical procedure? SB 131 shields such predators and bad actor adults who traffic children to Nevada to acquire secret abortions. It does so by handcuffing law enforcement, prohibiting them from aiding in any investigation, because Section 3 of this bill would directly prohibit Nevada law enforcement from participating in the investigation of abortion trafficking, which, by the way, is a crime used by child sex traffickers, and that's where we get sex traffickers. The difference in parental involvement laws between Idaho and Nevada would result in protecting a predator. SB 131 creates a new definition not seen before in NRS, reproductive health care services, that covers such disparate topics as abortion and miscarriage and birth control. Republicans, fair warning. This is so that if you vote against this bill today, your Democrat opponents can leave literature that says you want women to suffer without care for their miscarriage and might even be thrown in jail for a miscarriage.
Ma'am, if you can please wrap up.
That's it. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
My name is Cynthia Sanders, CYNTHIASANDERS. I am here as a life leader for Anglicans for Life and a volunteer for Life Choices Crisis Pregnancy Center here in Carson City. I urge you to vote no on SB 131. This bill will enable doctors and healthcare workers who have violated laws in other states to come here to Nevada to practice without fear of prosecution. This bill will further the damage done to women and unborn infants as the governor and law enforcement's hands are tied when it involves interstate transfer of healthcare professionals who have violated the law in their previous state. Underlying the term reproductive health is the desire to open Nevada to vacation abortion. I pray that God will open your hearts and minds to resist and say no to hanging our state's commerce on the lives of innocent children and opening up the idea of encouraging sex trafficking and abortion for minors without parental consent. Thank you for your time and thank you for listening.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Janine Hansen. I'm the state president of Nevada Families for Freedom. This day brings to mind the fact that the first time I came and testified before this legislature was when I was 19 on this very issue. And I am so thankful that I've had the opportunity for my entire adult life to advocate for the innocent and the unborn. I am the grandmother of 17 grandchildren, and I was never a pregnant person, but I was a woman, and I am and was a mother, and now I'm a grandmother. I am very thankful for the fact that I have been an advocate for life because my own granddaughter, who could have been the victim of abortion because her mother was unmarried, will be graduating from high school in June of this year. What a great blessing that is to me. And those kinds of blessings will be denied many because they have chosen death instead of life. Our founders secured the blessings of liberty to themselves and their posterity, while we in this building are killing our posterity. SB 131 will make Nevada a sanctuary state for abortion hacks, predators, sex traffickers, and for those profiteering from the killing of the unborn, just like Planned Parenthood. This is because, of course, Nevada's parental consent and notification law has been enjoined in the courts. Although the sponsor of this bill was willing to acknowledge that, this is a foundational issue in this particular bill because it opens us up to predators and sex traffickers. We hope you will stand for life as our founders did and reject this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Joy Truszynski, Trusenski. I oppose SB 131. This bill is supported by Planned Parenthood, whose main purpose is to abort unborn babies to make money. SB 131 will make Nevada a destination for hack abortionists, sex traffickers, and pedophiles forcing girls to get abortions without parental consent. Do not allow this. Return parental rights to parents. You have no right to violate parental rights, whether the girls live in Nevada or from out of state. I have read that Planned Parenthood in Reno has offered fly-in spa vacation abortions on their website, thus promoting tourism abortion. This is wrong. This legislature has not had any bills supporting life choices or making adoption easier. It's only been supporting abortion. God's laws are above man's laws. We have a duty to the unborn, the most innocent, vulnerable, and helpless. Please support other options and not SB 131. Psalms 139:13, for you formed my inward parts, you knitted me together in my mother's womb. Galatians 6:7, be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that also he will reap. Please vote no on through SB 131. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and we only have time for the three that are sitting at the table.
Greg Clausen, CLAUSEN, Commerce and Labor Committee members. Senate Bill 131, the Abortion Trafficker Protection Bill, will protect bad actors who transport minors to Nevada for secret abortions without parental notification or consent. This bill will put the government between parents and their children and make Nevada a destination for death. We are better than this. We do not reward bad actors. We protect and defend life. Vote no on Senate Bill 131. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Bob Russo for the record. I oppose Senate Bill 131. I'll read you statistics before I go on. As of a few minutes ago, there were 553 opinions against this bill, while there were 215 for it. This bill appears to prohibit the Healthcare Licensing Board from disqualifying unsafe abortionists from practicing in Nevada. It will not only attract those less than qualified to perform abortions, but it will significantly risk the safety of young women and girls who, out of fear, rush to Nevada to get an abortion. I know we've been told that this bill will not protect child traffickers and pedophiles, but I'm not convinced that that's the case. I think it will allow them to force and coerce underage girls who they violated in other states to come to Nevada for an abortion, posing as their assistants. Regrettably, this bill capitalizes on the dollar signs of the cold-blooded abortion industry at the obvious expense of the lives of the unborn and the fear and angst of young children and adolescents. What these young girls need is love, compassion, understanding, and support so they can process their situation rationally and make a wholesome decision, not a quick fix to an abortion clinic. According to a May 20th, 2022 article by Arizona Representative Debbie Lesko, at 4 weeks, a baby's brain and heart tissue begin to develop, and the first heartbeat can be detected after 22 days. A preborn baby responds to touch by 6 weeks, and scientists have discovered that preborn babies may be able to feel pain as early as 12 weeks. So yes, these children that are aborted, you're damn right, they feel pain. No question about it. They suffer. So I'm asking you to please oppose this bill. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Susan Rue, spelled R-U-C-H. Today I'm speaking to you from my heart. I did have an ectopic pregnancy, and I did lose a baby. I was rushed to the hospital, and I did get health care that was an emergency. The baby would have died, and I would have died. And I look at all of you, and I think babies are viable at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months. Why are we aborting these babies? And what's really concerning to me is we do not really seem to be discussing birth control. I, unfortunately, when I was very young, took a friend to have an abortion. And I don't know whether you've done this or not, but I went, and I was so appalled. This is early in the 70s. There were women there having their second and their third abortion. They use this as a form of birth control, and it's heartbreaking because you're aborting living babies. And I don't think these young women understand with multiple abortions, when they decide they finally want to have a baby, they may not be able to carry a baby, and also it leads to uterine cancer. And I don't think, is this really expressed to these people? Somebody mentioned our forefathers. Well, our forefathers were righteous. They believed in God. And I'm going to tell you, I live my life as though Jesus Christ is living on my shoulder, and I can promise you, Jesus Christ would not be very happy seeing all these babies aborted. And I just hope that you will please not pass SB 131. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Just as a reminder, I'm going to go to Las Vegas now and into the phones. If there is any time left, I'll come back to Carson City. If you're sitting to testify in opposition, please state and spell your name for the record. Each of you have 2 minutes. You may begin when you're ready.
My name is Leslie Quinn, and I oppose SB 131. Never did I hear any examples of SB 131 where providers were extradited from Nevada to another state that they now work in for what they did. There is no age limit here. SB 131 is a Malekian legislation focused on dollars made under the guise of a woman's reproductive rights. There are some duties most governors conferred to most governors: managing agencies, granting clemency and reprieves, interfacing with other states and the federal government. SB 131 removes Governor Lombardo's ability to protect Nevadans from chop shop abortionists and their staff that come here to practice. See page 3, lines 25 through 33. Nevada already has an abortion law in place up to 24 weeks at 6 months. What is SB 131 trying to solve? It contains legalese and loopholes that appear to not take away Governor Lombardo's ability to protect Nevadans from nefarious abortionists. See page 3, lines 34 through 40. This 5-page Senate bill notates without limitation 3 separate times. On page 3, lines 18 and 44, and page 4, line 36. Our laws need limitations and shouldn't have verbiage that allows a free-for-all mentality, leaving room for other elements that may continue in perpetuity. Sadly, medical professionals and those in support of SB 131 attach claims of fear, punishment, or persecution by state governments or perhaps family members for individuals who opt to travel to Nevada as a destination abortion state. But the reality is SB 131 supporters are simply justifying and promoting the numbing to the sanctity of life and avoidance of the mental health issues that go along with the numbing mentality. It is evident that the society we live in continues to become more self-centered daily. Government and social media continually promote cozy and comfortable as person's primarily goal, no matter the cost to self or others. Yet as this unhealthy inward focus is fabricated, internal value decreases, life's purpose is hindered, and an artificial intelligent persona sets in. Nevada legislators, your vote no will honor thousands of your Nevada constituent parents who stand for growing up great leaders in their children. Ma'am, can you please wrap up your testimony? With morals, ethics, integrity, and healthy respect for the sanctity of life. I appreciate it, and I will submit the rest of this, and I'm just asking my legislators, Marilyn Dondetter-Loop and Brittany Miller, to vote no on SB 131.
Thank you for your testimony today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jessica Ansell, A-N-C-E-L-L, and I oppose SB 131. Senator Canizaro remarked earlier that people need to know that reproductive health care is respected in Nevada. I would say the same of life. I pray one day that life will be respected in Nevada. John 10:10 says, "The thief cometh not but for to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And I come that they may have life and that they might have it more abundantly." This bill and pro-abortion statutes or constitution amendments undermines our country's Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Without life, what's worth fighting for? We do not extradite or criminalize women for having an abortion in Nevada, so making a bill stating that we wouldn't do that seems frivolous. However, legitimate health care for women in Nevada is already strained. We cannot have Nevada become a sanctuary state for abortion, not for women or for doctors harming our women. Abortion is killing babies, and very possibly that could be soon full 9 months. But it's also killing the women seeking them out or coerced into doing them. It causes miscarriages, hemorrhaging, infertility, depression, suicide, post-abortion syndrome, perforated uteruses, cancer, and death. Las Vegas has a terrible problem with human trafficking already, and passing SB 131 would amplify and enable human trafficking. If it were you being sex trafficked, or if it were you whose life was at risk of being killed by abortion, what would you want someone to do for your life? Would it be a serious matter for you if your life was in peril? If this bill is passed, the blood of the unborn babies and the women slain by abortion will be on your hands. I, for one, am not okay with my hard-working taxpayer dollars being used to kill babies. May God help us all. Jesus is returning soon. Get right with God. Thank you.
Hello, dear members of the community. My name is Christiane Mersch, M-E-R-S-C-H. I'm here on behalf of myself. Today I've been testifying here representing Nevada Right to Life in the past and First Choice Pregnancy Centers, but today as a mom and concern about the parent notification and consent that you don't have here in Nevada laws. So a lot of people already testified that this is going to increase sex trafficking in Nevada. And also we are giving a message that we're prioritizing outsiders to come here to have access to abortion, like to mention is healthcare. But what about the lack of medicals here we have in Nevada? We're in the bottom. Nevada doctor shortage, the state ranks the 48 when it comes to number of physicians per capita. So when I had my third baby, my youngest Isabella, I was paying prenatal care for a private clinician, and she could not show up in time for her birth because she was busy. So I'm concerned about the quality of these doctors also, because with this bill, it's going to open for a lot of bad abortionists to come here. And you cannot even take care of one woman here. And also the parent notification and consent is that we're more worried about, because kids cannot make their decision by themselves. Like, we cannot have a kid in Nevada having a tattoo without their parents' notification and consent. Why you're allowing a decision like that for a child? So this is something that we should worry about. Like, kids cannot, they're vulnerable, they don't know how to make the decision. I made the decision to have my first child when I was 17 in high school in Brazil, and I never regret having that baby. But I'm seeing many women regretting having abortion. So think about that. God bless you all, and please vote no SB 131. Thank you.
My name is Barry, B-A-R-R-Y, Andreoli, A-N-D-R-E-O-L-I. I am a ordained pastor and have lived in Las Vegas all my life. When I was very young, growing up, I experienced abortion. In fact, I'm a post-abortive father. 4 different girls growing up because I was ignorant and did not know that there was a true life inside of that body. Planned Parenthood only told us that it's a clump of cells. It doesn't mean anything. And so, obviously, as a young, immature and irresponsible young boy, I used abortion as contraceptive until I came to realize that that's a life. There's a life growing inside of that womb. It is separate from the mother. It has rights because, as has been spoken, our founding fathers spoke that we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life was left out of that opposing testimony. So I greatly oppose SB 131. You know, reproductive services has been spoken the term multiple times today, and I think it's a play on words, because actually reproduction or reproductive means of or relating or capable of reproducing. Women have the right to reproduce. Women have the right to seek doctors. Doctors won't get in trouble for helping women with health care, true health care, emergency health care. If you want to reproduce, you're free to do that. This is not reproducing. This is the termination of a life. This is murder. I was a part of 4 murders growing up because of lack of education, because it was thrown down my throat that it's not a life. Well, it is a life. And this bill is not only going to continue the pursuit of taking innocent life,
Sir, can you please wrap up your testimony? Your 2 minutes is up.
But it's going to also incorporate people coming here illegally.
Thank you for your testimony
today.
today.
Me, and I greatly ask that you oppose this bill.
You may begin when you're ready, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Greg Seymour, Greggseymor. I, as well, am a pastor. I pastor Calvary Red Rock here in the Las Vegas area. I also represent the American Christian Caucus, which is representative of multiple congregations. And I also believe I know, I sit here in representation of countless Bible-believing Christians that understand the sanctity of human life. God and God alone is the creator of life. The pastor before me, I think, made some very good points. But honestly, that's really not the reason that we're here. That's why we're hearing this in front of the Commerce and Labor Commission now, isn't it? We're not talking about health rights specifically. We're talking about the business of opening up our state to become a sanctuary haven that will generate lots of dollars. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The cost to this is epic. The weight of damage and destruction that will take place should this bill be passed, and should Nevada be deemed the sanctuary state in the way that it is being attempted to be made, will result in so much horrific damage, as we've heard throughout the testimony, predators and child sex traffickers. These other states, they understand we don't have child protection laws here. I mean, we have some, but they're being removed as we speak. There's other bills in session right now seeking to remove even more child protection. So, the horrific abominations that are going to be taking place as these abusers are bringing over their victims.
Sir, can you please wrap up your testimony? Your 2
don't...
minutes has ended. Can you please wrap up your testimony?
No, boy, that went by quick. I just adamantly oppose SB 131, and I pray for everyone's decision on this. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in today. If there's anyone else in opposition in Las Vegas, if you could please stand. Thank you so much. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line in opposition to Senate Bill 131?
Callers, if you'd like to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 131, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hi, my name is Katrin Ivanov, aka Mrs. Fix-It. I reside in Assembly District 42, Senate District 9. And this bill we are hearing already several times, and many of the problems that we find, such as 9-year-old girl can be brought by somebody that is not her parent, and that would be perfectly fine. There would not be an investigation. How did that 9-year-old got pregnant? Why did that 9-year-old got pregnant? Her parents may never even find out she was pregnant, in order to be able to protect her in the future. And no amendment was done to make sure that parents will be involved if this is to continue. I am adamantly opposed that bill. And there was a lady prior to me in support that were saying that since Roe v. Wade was turned, what a tragedy. It's not tragedy for Nevadans. We have it in the Constitution. Abortion is legal up to 6 months, and you are trying to make it actually up to 9 months with some of your other suggestions, which is appalling on itself. I don't know how this is even considered abortion, not a murder. However, I wanted to acknowledge that it is very sad that many of the bills that you're doing this session has nothing to do with Nevadans. That bill does not help Nevadans. That bill is to protect people that do not live in Nevada. You have other bills to protect illegal. You have other bills for homeless to be able to pee and poo on the street and being protected from anybody even saying to them, please don't do that. Or it's just appalling how you have everybody else's interest in mind, but not Nevadans. Our schools are in atrocious state. They're people that were hardworking people.
Ma'am, your 2 minutes is up. Can you please wrap up your testimony?
Yes. I would really appreciate if you start thinking about Nevadans more and not everybody else, because that is pretty much what your job is.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony today.
This particular bill.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a lovely day.
Broadcast, is there anyone else on the line?
One moment, Chair.
Hello, my name is Michael Ryan, M-I-C-H-A-E-L-R-Y-A-N. I'm a longtime resident of Nevada and a Marine Corps veteran. I implore you to vote no on Senate Bill 131, otherwise known as the Abortionist, Child Care Trafficker, and Predator Protection Bill. This bill has nothing to do with protecting the right to have an abortion, which is enshrined in Nevada law and allowed up until 6 months of pregnancy, well past the point when a fetus can survive outside the womb. This bill seeks to have Nevada, known as the entertainment capital of the world, be known as the abortion capital of the world. What a sick, sad, depraved tagline. This invites abortion tourism, and because Nevada allows minors to obtain abortions without parental notification, allows Nevada to be a haven for sex traffickers and predators seeking to ensure their dark deeds remain hidden. Idaho just passed a law making it illegal to transport a child over a state line for an abortion. SB 131 will prohibit our governor and law enforcement from cooperating with Idaho in apprehending child sex traffickers and predators. This is disgusting. Please vote no on Senate Bill 131. Thank you.
My name is Emily Mimnaugh, M-I-M-N-A-U-G-H. I am a Nevada resident attorney and here speaking today on behalf of Pacific Justice Institute Center for Public Policy. With respect to this bill, 2 points. First, Section 1 of the bill protects criminal abortionists instead of Nevada women. Section 1 forbids the licensing board from considering and acting upon the criminal acts of an applicant. The board should have the right to consider those criminal acts. The board should be allowed to exercise its professional judgment, not your political judgment, its professional judgment to determine whether, based upon the facts and circumstances, whether such criminal acts disqualify a candidate from licensure. Therefore, Section 1 should be amended, and that amendment should say that the board may disqualify, but is not required to disqualify a candidate due to prior criminal acts. That amendment would protect women and would maintain respect for the professional discretion and judgment of the board. Second, Section 2 runs afoul of the full faith and credit clause, and it seems blind. It seems blind to the foreseeable consequences that will come back to bite Nevada if we proceed to dismantle interstate comedy. As a recent example, the Nevada Supreme Court issued an opinion that was very clear about its respect for the full faith and credit clause. And that case was Franchise Tax Board v. Hyatt. That was in 2019. That was a decades-long dispute, making its way to our Supreme Court, where for the third time the justices protected California from significant damages awards in the state of California in the state of Nevada from our courts because of the respect for the full faith and credit clause in interstate comedy. Therefore, Section 2 should be amended to respect the full faith and credit clause and to acknowledge our obligations with respect to extradition under the U.S. Constitution. Please amend or oppose this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and Committee. For the record, Jim DeGraffenreid, Nevada's National Committeeman, in opposition to SB 131 on behalf of the Nevada Republican Party. It says a lot that this bill is being heard in the Commerce Committee and not a Health Committee. This is abortion tourism, not merely a clean bill codifying the executive order, and it's sold on the premise that women who come to Nevada for abortions will be prosecuted in their home states. Even if that were happening, Nevada's laws can't control another state. SB 131 is bad in so many ways, but first let's start with the facts. Abortion is legal in Nevada until 24 weeks gestation, past the point of viability for the child, and far past what other civilized first world countries find acceptable. No one in Carson City can restrict abortion in Nevada, not the legislature, not the governor. Despite the hysterical statements of supporters, only the people of Nevada can modify our abortion laws, and they have shown no inclination to do so. This bill takes the fact that abortion is undeniably legal in Nevada and seeks to market our state as a haven for women wishing to kill their unborn children. Worse yet, it seeks to allow doctors unable to be certified in other states to practice in ours. Shoddy medical standards are how doctors like Adam Levy get to keep practicing, even after abortions they perform result in the death of their adult patients. This bill also gives cover to criminals. Nevada leads the nation in human trafficking with many underage victims. This bill creates a particular danger here where there are no parental consent laws and minors are able to get abortions without adult notification. One of the most common tactics of traffickers is forcing their victims to have abortions so that the flow of illicit money does not stop. Why is the entire Democrat caucus united behind a bill which enables human trafficking in our state? Perhaps because victims can't afford campaign donations while NARAL, Planned Parenthood, and other purveyors of death do. Our state is deservedly known as the entertainment capital of the world. Please do not make it the abortion capital of the world. Democrats see dollar signs in stopping the hearts of living children, but it is dirty money obtained by hurting our most innocent. Please, just say no. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We have time for one more caller. Broadcast, is there anyone else on the line?
One moment, Chair.
CYRUS HOJJATY. I oppose this bill. There are some good reasons about having these procedures. I'm not totally against it. I would like to share you my story that there was if it's okay, I was at an abortion protest last year after the Dobbs decision. Just wanted to go see what was going on. A lot of elected officials, and I have it on video. People were just screaming at my ear. I didn't even mention my opinion about abortion. That pretty much explains everything you need to know. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. That has ended the 30 minutes of opposition. If there's anyone here in Carson City that did not get to testify in opposition, if you could please stand. Thank you, and I appreciate you being here today. We will now move to testimony in neutral of Senate Bill 131. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in neutral to Senate Bill 131? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
Callers, if you'd like to testify in neutral to Senate Bill 131, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers wishing to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you. Majority Leader, would you like to give any closing remarks?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Nicole Cannizzaro, Senate District 6. I just want to first and foremost thank you for taking the time to hear Senate Bill 131 today and for all of your questions and engagement on this, what I believe is a very important issue and obviously a lot of folks feel very strongly about. I just want to talk about a couple of points very quickly, and I won't take too much of your time. First and foremost, I want to be very clear that this does not change Nevada's current law as it relates to abortion. There was a lot of opposition testimony that talked about what this would or wouldn't allow, what's permissible or not permissible. This does not change any of that in Nevada law. What is current Nevada law is current Nevada law regardless of whether or not Senate Bill 131 is passed or not. What Senate Bill 131 is saying is that if what you are doing in Nevada is legal, we are not going to allow another state to pass a law and come in here and tell Nevadans what it is that we can and cannot do, what we can and cannot put restrictions on, and then prosecute you for it. Just like we would not tolerate another state saying because gambling is illegal in another state, we are going to allow you to come into Nevada and prosecute any person who enters into a casino. That is not how laws work. This is consistent with what we would expect. And I believe, like someone said, Nevada's law shouldn't control what another state does. Well, what Nevada's law is shouldn't be controlled by another state either. They shouldn't be passing laws to tell us what is legal or not legal in Nevada. And this is consistent with Nevada law. I would also note that there was a lot of testimony about protecting traffickers and this idea of abortion tourism. Again, currently in Nevada, this executive order stands and has stood for nearly a year. This is what is happening in our state right now. And what we are not seeing is all of these conspiracy theories come to life that are designed to detract from what the real issue is here and to detract from what it is that this bill is trying to do or what the executive order is currently doing, or to somehow scare folks into thinking that you are going to enable child sex traffickers to enter into Nevada. That is just fundamentally not true. It is not happening now. There is no evidence of that, and this is the current law. I know that we are in the Commerce and Labor Committee. There are many bills that can go before many committees. Certainly this committee is very familiar with the licensing and licensure of healthcare providers. That is squarely within the jurisdiction of a Commerce and Labor Committee. That's why we're here. Probably could have gone to a number of committees, but that has nothing to do with the substance of this particular bill or what it is trying to accomplish. What we are trying to say is that we want to protect providers who are acting within the scope of their practice, practicing under a license, and that we are not going to discipline them just because they provided something that is illegal in another state. I would urge your support of Senate Bill 131, and just again, thank you so much for your time.
And thank you for being here. I will now close the hearing on Senate Bill 131. I will now open the hearing on Senate Bill 106, which revises provisions relating to
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Senator Heidi Seavers-Gansert. I represent District 15, which is in northern Nevada, pretty much the west side of town in Reno. I'm here to help present Senate Bill 106. I've got two in front of you, 106 and 134, so we'll go with 106 first. And with me, I have Chris Grimm, who is the head of government affairs for Warburg Parker. And so, I guess I'll probably just turn it over to you now, and then I'll make some clarifications at the end. You'll see that the language of the bill is very short. Thank you.
As someone who's 5'4", I always say shorter is better. Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Christopher Grimm. I'm the head of state government affairs for Warburg Parker, and I thank you for the opportunity to testify today in support of Senate Bill 106. Warburg Parker provides access to affordable, as low as $95, quality and stylish prescription eyewear. We operate more than 200 plus retail locations across the country, including one in Las Vegas. We also sell glasses online from our two state-of-the-art manufacturing and fulfillment centers, one in New York and one here in Las Vegas, both of which are overseen by New York and Nevada licensed opticians, respectively. Between the manufacturing site, customer service employees, and our retail store, we employ 197 Nevadans. SB 106 preserves the current regulatory framework with regard to selling glasses to people located in Nevada, whether they're bought online, in a Warburg Parker retail location, a big box store, or an independent retailer. The current optician regulations will apply and do not change in any of those circumstances. I want to say that again, it does not impact the sale of glasses online or in a retail store to anyone located in the state of Nevada. We've been in talks with the Board of Dispensing Opticians for 2 years. Just this morning, we spoke with their lobbyist, and we think we're close on language that would create, for the first time, a regulatory framework for direct-to-consumer sales of glasses across state lines. No states currently have specific laws to regulate this, so Nevada would be the first that create a regulatory regime that ensures that licensed opticians are involved in the process and ensures that people are receiving quality and accurate prescription eyewear. Online glasses sales are still fairly new. Warby Parker's only been around since 2010. And there's a lot of skepticism about the quality of glasses that you can buy online. And there are a lot of dubious retailers out there. Right now, anyone in this room can go on your computer, pull out your smartphone, and order glasses from hundreds of different providers. Some are based overseas, some are based here. Some are good actors, some are not so much. Some have licensed opticians overseeing their production and verifying the quality and accuracy of the glasses they put out. Others don't have any in their manufacturing plants or even on the same continent. But again, there are good actors like Warby Parker that care about quality, stand behind their products, and combine state-of-the-art manufacturing techniques and innovation with the knowledge and expertise that only licensed opticians can bring to the process. And just to sum that up, in December, the New York Times conducted a review of the 12 leading online glasses retailers, including Warby Parker. They found that all 12 retailers met professional standards for accuracy in glasses purchased online. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I can add, again, Senator Heidi Seevers-Gansert. So Warby Parker was brought here to, just so you know, GO had recruited them to make sure that they would base one of their manufacturing facilities in our state. And they received a small abatement, relatively small abatement for that, but they basically came to Nevada to do business in Nevada. And as was mentioned, they've been working with the board for a couple of years on regulations, but we're bringing this forward because it's been very difficult, and we want to make sure that they stay in Nevada and continue to employ folks and grow in Nevada. And also, as a side note, I have two of my children who have purchased glasses through Warby Parker and have been really happy. So that's another thing, we've actually had personal experiences with them. Have not had any problems. Thank you.
Are you ready for questions, Senator? Perfect. Assemblywoman Kasama.
Thank you for the presentation. And could you just walk me through the process of getting a pair of glasses from Warby Parker? How does it work?
Sure. So if someone goes into any of our retail stores, oh, sorry, Chris Grimm with Warby Parker. Every state's got different procedures. I apologize. Chris Grimm with Warby Parker. If you walk into any of our retail stores, whether that's one in Nevada or any other state, and you place an order, that order is taken by a licensed optician. They will then inspect the glasses before you come and pick them up. Then, depending on the state's laws, be the one to physically hand you the glasses when you come in and pick them up. If you order glasses online, for example, if you lived in Nevada and you ordered glasses online from Warby Parker, we have a manufacturing facility here that covers sort of the western half of the United States. Our New York lab covers the eastern half. The process is the same in glasses that go out of either location to folks outside of those states. And that process is our manufacturing is state-of-the-art. We have automated equipment that tests the lenses and can verify whether they fall within the prescription's frameworks. There are licensed opticians that oversee that process and conduct regular audits every day to ensure that the automated equipment is functioning properly and that everything that comes off the line is meeting that very high standard that we have for quality and accuracy. And then once the glasses go through that process, they are shipped to the folks out of state. If it's going to a resident in that state, whether it's New York or Nevada, a licensed optician will pull them off the line, do a physical inspection, and then box them and mark them ready for delivery to someone located in the state. So those are sort of the three different processes that we follow. Licensed opticians are heavily involved in all three because it is a critical service to ensure that we're meeting our quality and accuracy standards.
Assemblywoman Backus.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And I just kind of wanted to follow up on that question. And so after maybe glasses are ordered from another state and they're manufactured here in Nevada and they're shipped to that other state, I'm assuming the other state has licensing requirements for its, I know there's a terminology that you refer to them license, like it's not maybe not an optometrist, but they the ones that actually size you for the glasses, does that licensed individual in the other state then make sure the glasses conform to that prescription and properly fit the patient in the other state? Is that how that works?
It does not, because the optician
Your name, please.
Sorry. Christopher Grimm, Warby Parker. The glasses are shipped direct to consumers. So there is no point at which an optician, for example, would receive those glasses and inspect them before they got shipped finally to the end consumer.
Any additional questions? Assemblywoman Hardy.
Thank you, Chair. And I just want to, you've stated it several times, but just to put it on the record, because, we've received some letters and things saying that you're trying to remove opticians from the process. And that's not the case. That's not what we're trying to do. You said that they're involved in these facilities. You can go into a retail store here, but they're involved in the checks and procedures, during the manufacturing and stuff. So I just want to clarify that's correct.
Chris Grimm with Warby Parker. Yes, that is correct. And the latest language that we are working on with the board would require that and ensure that that happens for anyone who set up a facility in Nevada and wanted to ship glasses out of state. That requirement would apply to anyone and would keep those licensees involved in that process to ensure quality and accuracy.
Any additional questions? Assemblyman Yurick.
Thank you, Chair. And I just want to follow up with my colleagues' questions. And I'm trying to just cut to the chase of what the difference is here. And it sounds, if I'm reading it correctly and hearing your testimony correctly, the difference is, I imagine that one of the reasons that you're able to provide these prescription glasses at a lower cost is because you're dealing with higher volumes and your manufacturing process enables that. And in Nevada, you have to have, I'm sorry, it's not a optometrist, it's...
Optician.
Optician, thank you.
Chris Grimm, optician.
The optician inspects every set of glasses that leaves for a purchase for a Nevada resident. But it sounds like what this is going to enable you to do would be able to, instead of inspect every prescription, it would do an audit of every so many prescriptions or something using your machinery that can automatically do it, and an optician will then inspect every so many to determine that they are at the level that they need to be. So if one, you can clarify that auditing process, how often is that happening? And then two, are we concerned or are we okay with sending glasses out that aren't necessarily and leave it inspected every single pair of lenses and leaving it up to the individual states to require whether or not they need somebody on their end to do it? And is that how we're kind of dealing with this? I hope that makes sense.
Sure. So on the first, Chris Grimm, on the first part of your question, yes, that's correct, and is consistent with how we're currently operating in the state. The current regulations regarding opticians and dispensing opticians requires the verification of glasses. There was a proposed rule change to change that from verify to physically inspect. There's, I think, a big question mark about where each state's sort of regulatory purview starts and ends. But we felt comfortable that under verification, we were compliant, even if we believed it didn't apply to glasses going out of state. We felt like we were on solid footing. With the change from verify to physically inspect, after we opened the lab, was sort of like, oh, okay, how do we create a framework that achieves the board's goal, which is that if someone walks into a retail location, the glasses that they receive should be physically inspected, right? They should receive a high level of care because they're in person and they're in a retail location, while still allowing for everything that you'd mentioned in your question, right, about volume and affordability and access, while still allowing those things to happen, while still guaranteeing or having strong rules in place to ensure that there's checks and balances for accuracy and quality. And that's how we came up with this proposal. That's not in the current bill, but we've shared this language with other stakeholders that you have to have a licensed optician supervising the manufacturing, and that would include a daily audit or a daily inspection of the equipment to ensure accuracy and quality. In terms of going to other states, again, there is no current regulatory framework for glasses shipped across state lines. So it's on a state-by-state basis, and no state requires that you have to ship glasses to an optician, and that only they can send them to someone in that state, as far as I know.
Any additional questions, committee members? I don't believe so. We will move to testimony in support of Senate Bill 106. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in support to Senate Bill 106? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support to Senate Bill 106? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
Thank you, Chair. Callers, if you'd like to testify in support of Senate Bill 106, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers in support at this time.
Thank you. We will move to testimony in opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 106? I don't. Do you wish to testify? You can go ahead and come up. Please state and spell your name for the record. You have 2 minutes.
My name is Amanda Irene Sloan, AMANDA SLOANE. I'm a Nevada State Licensed Optician number 664. I'm speaking on behalf of myself today. As a licensed optician, I went through a rigorous program at the College of Southern Nevada in Las Vegas. I had to pass 6 national exams, including ABO, NCLE, ABO Advanced, NCLE Advanced, ABO Practical, and NCLE Practical. I went to school from 2014 to 2017 and graduated from College of Southern Nevada with high honors. When I was in school, there were 5 or 6 huge textbooks I studied from in my manufacturing class and made a few pairs of glasses with my own hands. There is a lot that goes into dispensing glasses and contact lenses. It takes a lot of care and passion to make sure the eyes are well centered in the frame. A part of my job is frame styling. So for each patient I help them pick out a frame if they're choosing progressive lenses. If their eyes are not well centered in the frame, there's a lot of distortion on the side or blurriness. And I disagree with SB 106 because if we're final inspecting glasses in Warby Parker's lab in the state of Nevada, and they're just getting shipped directly to the consumer, it takes the power out of our hands as licensed opticians to make sure the glasses are properly fit behind the ears, their eyes are well centered, the measurements such as pupillary distance measurement, OC heights, and seg heights are properly, so that when I dispense glasses, I go up to them and I say, can you see? If they can't see, there's a series of troubleshoots that I have to go through according to several textbooks. If the measurements are off during final inspection, we as licensed opticians are responsible for catching lab errors. Glasses and contacts are medical devices. It is against public safety and unethical to allow SB 106. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition? Is there anyone in Las Vegas? Please state and spell your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola and Vice Chair Howdegui and members of the committee. My name is Jennifer Letton, JenniferLetten. I am the chair of the Nevada Board of Dispensing Opticians and practicing licensed optician in Las Vegas. I am authorized to speak on behalf of the board. On April 25th, 2023, the board voted to oppose Senate Bill 106 in its present form. We are aware of an amendment that could address our concerns, which we believe will allow the board to reach a neutral position. That said, I will briefly speak to the concerns we have with the current language for the benefit of the committee. The current language proposed in Section 6 would create a new exemption from the purview of the board for sales to the intended wearer located outside of the state, which would exempt all design, manufacturing, and other activity. First, the language regarding an intended wearer located outside of the state is too vague and could create circumstances where prescription eyewear could be sold in Nevada to someone who is visiting from out of state. We understand that an amendment is in the works which would address this concern. Second, the current language also uses the phrase "or other activity" as a broad catch-all within the exemption, which we are concerned could extremely broadly construed to prevent all board oversight. Again, we understand that the bill proponent is working on language which would possibly resolve this concern. We are hopeful that the amendment will allow the board to settle on neutral position on this bill. Thank you for your time, and I'm available for any questions the committee may have.
Thank you for your testimony. There's no questions. Thank you. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
Callers, if you'd like to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 106, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. One moment, Chair. Caller with the last 3 digits, 814, please press star 6 to unmute yourself. Chair, this caller seems to have some trouble connecting.
Okay.
We have no more callers in opposition at this time.
Please let me know if the caller comes back on the line. We will move to neutral testimony. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral? I don't see anyone. I don't see anyone in Las Vegas. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in neutral to Senate Bill 106?
Callers, if you'd like to testify in neutral to Senate Bill 106, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers in neutral at this time.
Thank you. Did the person come back on the line that wanted to testify in opposition?
One moment.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm sorry for that technical difficulty. My name is Corey, C-O-R-E-Y. Last name is Roveri, R-O-V-E-R-I. I'm a licensed dispensing optician in the state of Nevada. I'm speaking on my own behalf today, and I'm calling to strongly oppose SB 106. I also testified at length in front of the Senate Committee on Commerce and Labor. Clearly, that testimony went unheard since we're here today again. Respectfully and honestly, I'm not sure how this bill has made it this far in the legislative process. There are currently 385 opinions posted on Nellis for SB 106. Of those opinions, 373 or 96% of them are in opposition of this bill. Within the exhibits, 90% of the written testimonies are in opposition. The same pattern was true during the verbal testimony given when this bill was heard in the Senate committee. Your constituents have already clearly and strongly voiced their opposition to SB 106. I could sit here and tell you why this bill is a risk to patient health and safety and welfare. Instead, I'll tell you that at my office, even today, I received incorrect order from a large corporate lab. Labs of this size often spot check their orders instead of inspecting and verifying each one before it ships. This results in many orders which must be returned to the lab to be remade due to inaccuracy. They simply do not comply with ANSI standards. Automated machines, known as lens meters for those who are unaware, daily audits of those machines by licensed opticians are not acceptable. Eyeglasses are meant to conform with the American National Standard Institute for Eyeglass Verification. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much. Senator, would you like to give closing remarks?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senator Heidi Gansert for the record. And so I appreciate the comments that have been made. I want to make clear that each dispensing any eyeglass that they produce basically has to have a prescription, and that this passed unanimously out of the Senate because there was broad support for it. There was mention of an amendment, and I think that Warby Parker offered an amendment a while ago, but we've never really heard back from them. We've never heard conclusively that they're in agreement with it, and this is sort of what's been happening for the last couple of years, is kind of going round and round and no firm response. So we believe that this bill is clear and that Nevadans will have the care that they need and have the inspection that's required per state law and regulations right now. So I'd appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now close the hearing on Senate Bill 106. I will now open the hearing on Senate Bill 134, which revises provisions relating to vision insurance. Welcome back, Senator.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I started to turn around and leave, and then I realized it's fine again.
You
Okay,
may
all right,
begin when
good,
you're
good.
ready.
Good to see you. Thank you. All right, Senator Heidi Severs-Gansert for the record from Senate District 15 in Northern Nevada. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm here to help present Senate Bill 134. This bill seeks to address the issue of insurers conditioning contracts with vision care providers based on the use and prescription of certain ophthalmic devices. So now we're going to talk about optometrists, not opticians. Currently, NRS 686A-135 prohibits an insurer from entering a contract with a provider of vision care that conditions the provider's rate of reimbursement for vision care with prescribing ophthalmic devices or materials in which the insurer has an ownership or pecuniary interest. Further, the insurer is prohibited from increasing the rate of reimbursement if the provider of vision care prescribes such ophthalmic devices or materials. Senate Bill 134 expands on these prohibitions. Specifically in Section 1, it adds that the insurer is further prohibited from entering into a contract with a provider of vision care that authorizes the insurer to set or limit the amount that a provider of vision care may charge for vision care that is not reimbursed under the contract. So that means it's a service that's not covered under the contract, but they still will have a discount, want a discount. For instance, you buy one pair of glasses and they want you to discount the second pair 50%, even though they're not covering the second pair of eyeglasses. The other thing that it does, it requires the provider to use a specific laboratory as the manufacturer of ophthalmic devices or materials provided to covered persons. And basically the optometrists want to be able to use potentially that lab or another lab, depending upon what type of glasses they are going to dispense. So I have with me a couple folks. I've got Mike Hillerby here and Jonathan Matthew, who's also going to speak to this bill. But again, when this legislation was brought to me, the idea was brought to me, I had no idea that an insurance carrier, an insurance plan could require you to discount something that they're not even covering. And I think it's important for folks to be able to make a living, and also that it should be disclosed. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, Michael Hillerby, representing the Nevada Optometric Association. We appreciate your time this afternoon, and we know it's been a long one. I will do my best to move quickly through the provisions of the bill. SB 134, as introduced, does two things. It would prohibit, as a part of the contract with a vision plan, that vision plan from requiring an optometrist or other eye care provider from mandating discounts on services and products for which they provide no benefit. That same practice has been outlawed in Nevada in the dental plan statutes, NRS 695D.227, for the last 10 years. That is also, that same language exists in 22 other states for vision, and in more than 40 states combined between dental and vision. Again, we think that's ultimately good for consumer choice, and we'll talk a little bit more about why that is in a moment. The second piece in Section 1(1)(b) would get rid of the requirement that a customer must use only the lab selected by the plan and allow our customers, patients, along with their doctors, to make the decision about the lab to produce the glasses and lenses that made the most sense for them. One of the concerns is, what does this do for costs? And I want to back up a little bit about why we're here very quickly. Of the roughly 200 million Americans, according to the American Optometric Association, who have vision insurance benefits, 2/3 are covered by one of two large companies. Those companies also are some of the largest manufacturers of lenses and frames in the world. They, in some cases, own their own labs, and in some cases are actually now in the business of buying eye care practices, and then the doctors have a contractual arrangement to work there. They have a phenomenal market control over that, and there's simply not the kind of competition you see with the number of carriers in other places. And again, back to the concern about does this potentially raise costs? That mandated discount is of benefit to the patients potentially of that particular plan. So there has been research done on that by Avalon Health Economics, originally in 2016, updated to include 10 states in 2021, that showed a couple of interesting things. In states that have banned the practice of mandatory pricing for non-covered services, much as we're asking you to do, in 75% of the practices that they examined, prices stayed the same or went lower. What our doctors want, who, like Dr. Mather and all of his colleagues, in the many years I've represented them, I know them to be very, very strong advocates for their patients. They want their patients to be able to have choice. That shouldn't be directed by, well, I really need to follow the discount that's just available here. What about other products that might be available? What about a lab? So again, I've mentioned what happened in that research in states that have enacted the non-covered service. Second is about lab choice. The argument is if we do a large volume with a single lab, you're going to get a better discount. That's a little tougher to know because it's not a true arm's length transaction if you, in fact, as the vision plan, are also part of the company that owns the same lab. What our doctors see in practice is they are often able to get better prices and better service by having lab choice. Again, that's going to be a choice of the patient. If they want to stay in network, if they are fine with the prices, with the materials that are available and the choices they have, they can do that. And in fact, I'll come to the amendment that we have suggested in a moment that includes some language to that effect. What the research found in the case of the laboratory was where the required labs, the average wait time was 15 days. When you introduced lab choice, that wait time went to 7 days. 58% of respondents said they had materials come back that were higher quality and had better service, and the difference in price in that study was less than 4%. So we think that's those, again, having options and choice for patients, and you heard about that in the earlier bill. There's an increasing amount of competition for our practitioners that do have an optical shop and sell glasses, be they prescription like mine, sunglasses and other things. They have a significant amount of competition from the Warby Parkers of the world, from Lens Crafters, by the way, which is also owned by one of these big companies, Sunglass Hut, Costco, Walmart, all kinds of places where you can go now. Under federal law, our doctors are required to give you your prescription. You can leave and take that and get that filled wherever you would like. And many, many patients choose to do that. One of our doctors said to me some years ago, what I have to do is make the value proposition to the patient that getting your glasses from me, the personal service you're going to get, the service from a licensed optometrist and or potentially a licensed optician who's doing the fitting, and you heard a previous witness on the other bill talk about that. If I can't make the value proposition that that's a good buy, shame on me for not being able to do that. So that's the world that our folks live in. We think the patient choice is really important. We think the data supports that it does not, in fact, increase costs on patients. The amendment that you have in front of you adds a couple of other pieces. That's the one with the Kemper-Kroll letterhead at the top and my name under the proposed by. We've met with the vision plans. They had some suggested language. They also have an amendment in. I want to be clear, we were not able to agree on all of that, but there were some points in the amendment that we thought had some merits and to which we could agree. You'll see language very similar to what they suggested in subsection 4, the new green language, which are disclosures that if we have any financial interest or pecuniary interest in the lab to which a patient is being referred and has the choice to do, we should disclose that. We agree. That was modeled after language that we put in last session in this same chapter and that you will see in the bill in existing language for those plans when they had a financial ownership. We think that's certainly good policy for consumers. On the second page, the new section 6 was also language that was suggested by the vision care plans, that nothing in this section shall prohibit a covered person from utilizing the in-network source or supplier. We think that's fine. We don't think that's the case now. They can certainly use that. And again, customers are going to make a choice at the end about price, service, how quickly they can get the glasses back. I can wait on mine. If I had a job that required that, if I had one of my kids, a student, and couldn't see as you say chalkboard. We don't use chalkboards anymore, I suppose, in school. I might want those faster, and I might be willing to pay for that. Or my doctor might be able to, in fact, get it at a better price from a local lab. That's a choice that we think the patients ought to have and be informed of. Lastly, in the amendment, We had some confusion about the effective date and whether and when and how often these contracts might actually renew, because they're evergreen contracts. After meeting with the vision care plans and after a phone conversation with your committee counsel yesterday, Mr. Quast, we would suggest leaving the language as it is in the bill and not accepting the specific change. And we'll work through that with the Division of Insurance and others to try to get some clearer definition. But there are some impairment of contract issues and other things that your counsel could explain far better than I. We know it's late. In summary, we think these choices for patients are important. Again, what our members, and again, I've been representing the association a long time, and I know their commitment to advocating for their patients. We think these make sense. We think the data supports that it does not increase costs on patients. And if they do choose something that might be more expensive, again, they do that with full information at their hand, in hand, and we ultimately think that's important. We'll be happy to answer questions now. We appreciate your consideration. And I do want to introduce Dr. Mather. I apologize. He would tell a little bit about what he does in his practice. Thank you.
Dr. Jonathan Mather, for the record. Thank you, Chair and Committee, for hearing my testimony today. I would just like to add a few things to what Mike is saying to kind of clarify the situation. We've run into issues in medicine, and there are large medical insurance companies out there, and what you don't see is them buying up pharmaceutical companies. I think we all know why. There's an obvious conflict of interest when you own both the insurance company who's paying for things and the people who are giving out these prescriptions. What's happening in the vision care industry is vision insurance companies are buying up frames and lens manufacturers like crazy because they can make money twice on their patients, or on our patients, on their consumers. If costs are going to go up, it's the people who set the prices that are going to raise those costs. If costs are going to go up, I'd love to see some economist or some sort of study come out that prove that costs go up. We've already done our own studies by an independent organization that shows that it doesn't happen, and that's the only argument that they really have against passing this bill. By they, I refer to the vision insurance companies. The other thing I would point out, if anyone has watched the news in the last 2 months or so, you see this large EssilorLuxottica. It's a big company out of Italy. They own iMed, they own LensCrafter, they own thousands of labs across the world, and they are one of those big two or big three. And all that they're doing is buying up more and more of the resources that they have because laws like this don't exist to protect patients, protect doctors, and create a fair and open market like we need. Thank you.
Thank you for being here today. Everyone's ready for questions? Committee members, we'll start with Vice Chair Hadigi.
Thank you, Chair. And Senator, thank you for bringing this bill. It's very familiar to me. I carried it last session, and I'm happy to see that it's back, and it's made it a lot further than mine did. So, but I just want to clarify for the record, because I think it's a very simple, bill and what it does, and I think it makes a lot of sense. So, the way I read it, Section 1A just basically says, it tells insurers you can't say, hey, I don't cover this, and then, but I'm still going to tell you how much you have to charge for it. And then just that part, is that correct?
Thank you, Madam Majority Leader Michael Hillerby. That is correct. If they're not providing a benefit for that, they should not be in the position to set prices for that. Again, just exactly what you've done in the dental statutes here about a decade ago.
Okay, and then my just follow-up, Madam Chair, just my other question was Section 1C, just by adding that conditions. And I'm familiar with this because we see this a lot throughout different chapters that cover insurance, right? And so this is just basically saying, it sounds like it's an inducement, right? Use my companies that I own, and I will reimburse you more if you use my companies, which is an inducement of business. And we see that that's prohibited throughout the insurance chapters, whether it's, P&C or title insurance or any other type of insurance. We see that inducements are prohibited. And so this just seems to make sense to me. And again, this is just saying you can't condition reimbursement rates on whether or not we're using a company that you own.
Thank you again, Michael Hillerby. Yes, that's accurate. And when we think the language in lines 3 and 4 of the bill are very important about entering a contract, and we think that's consistent with the language in the dental statutes in 695D, if in fact the discount programs make sense for a practice and for their patients, that's something they could enter into with any number of provider groups, not just the vision plan. They may decide to do that for State employees, for example, I know Dr. Mather's practice does that. When the Public Employee Benefits Program changed their benefits and reduced what was available, they've made an across-the-board discount available. But that should be separate and apart from any negotiations in any contract involving reimbursement rates, and that's what we're asking to have.
Any additional questions, committee members? I don't see any, so we will move to testimony in support of Senate Bill 134. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in support? I don't see anyone. I don't see anyone in Las Vegas. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in support?
Callers, if you'd like to testify in support of Senate Bill 134, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
CY for US, HOJJATY. I support this bill after hearing all these talks about it. I just wanted to give you a reminder, if you guys can make sure you put these bills on the agenda day after when it's actually happening, so we'll have more time. Yep. Yield.
Broadcast, is there anyone else on the line?
One moment, Chair.
Thank you.
Hello, this is Peter Guzman, President of the Latin Chamber of Commerce, in full support of SB 134. SB 134 protects consumers by prohibiting insurers from setting limits on the amount that a provider of vision care can charge for services. This bill prohibits an insurer from requiring a provider of vision care to use a specific laboratory as the manufacturer. This bill requires insurers to disclose any ownership, and this bill prohibits from conditioning any rate of reimbursement for vision care on the provider of vision care prescribing these devices and materials in which insurer has an ownership or other interest. Again, overall, SB 134 is a vital piece of legislation that protects consumers, enhances transparency, and prevents unfair business practices. It ensures that providers of vision care can make decisions based on the needs of their patients, and not on the interests of insurers. I thank you again, and please pass SB 134.
Thank you for your testimony. Broadcast, is there anyone else on the line?
One moment, Chair. Caller with the last 3 digits 076, please press star 6 to unmute yourself. Again, caller with the last 3 digits 076, please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hello, this is Spencer Quinton, SPENCERQUINTON. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm the current president of the Nevada Optometric Association, practicing in Henderson for nearly 24 years, calling in support of SB 134. This will curb anti-patient, anti-doctor mandates that vision care plans have been using for years to increase their profits in these vertically integrated business models at the cost of higher prices for patients and reduced access for patients. This would prohibit them from limiting their patients and doctors' choice of optical labs and from mandating forced discounts on services and materials that they don't cover or reimburse. In real life, this is, I think it has been covered well, so I will keep it short, but we do see patients on a daily basis who are having to sacrifice good vision to be able to use their benefits, and they should not have to. They should be able to use their benefits and at the choice of their labs, which will result in higher patient satisfaction and quicker response, quicker care for patients. People obviously need their vision to be able to get work done. 22 states and counting, as Mr. Hillary has mentioned, have this type of legislation. There's proposed federal legislation that's similar, and it's time for Nevada to also protect the vision of its citizens. And so I urge support of SB 134. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Broadcast, is there anyone else on the line?
Chair, there are no more callers in support at this time.
Thank you. We will move to testimony in opposition to Senate Bill 134. Is there anyone here in Carson City? Please remember to state and spell your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman and committee members, and thank you for the opportunity to address SB 134. My name is Julian Roberts, Julian Roberts. I'm the Executive Director of the National Association of Vision Care Plans, or NAVCP. NAVCP's members consist of 16 vision care plans all across the country. Only 2 of those 16 actually have retail and lab organizations, and even both of them use labs and retail organizations that they do not own as part of their networks. Through those 16 plans, they cover over 218 million Americans. Here in Nevada, they cover over 2 million Nevadans here in the state, 200 of which are seniors that are in Medicaid, Medicare Advantage programs here within the states. We stand in opposition to SB 134 as currently drafted. Vision benefits is a consumer product as consumers seek to manage their out-of-pocket costs for vision correction frames and lenses. On behalf of consumers, vision plans negotiate arrangements with eye care professionals to discount to ensure customers or consumers' out-of-pocket costs are protected. In return, the plans direct their insureds to the providers agreeing to accept these agreements. Plans also credential these providers to ensure that they have an active license, have adequate coverage for their practices, and do not have any sanctions to ensure consumers are being directed to qualified providers. Plans do the same with their labs and their network, negotiating significant discounts based on volume, as well as strict performance standards on turnaround times and limits on errors and defects. SB 134 would prohibit our ability to negotiate on behalf of the consumer for non-covered materials, which can be marked up as much as 260 to 400% from wholesale to retail. In addition, coatings that could be added to a lens by a provider's recommendations can be increased from wholesale to retail in as much as 600% in regards to that. This bill also impacts discount-only plans. So AARP has a discount-only plan for all of its members across the country. If this bill passes, there are no benefits being paid through the AARP program, and they utilize one of our members' organizations' contracts to provide access to seniors for those savings. As I stated, we currently stand in opposition of SB 135 as currently drafted. We have proposed amendment language that we have used in other states and actually came into agreement with optometric organizations in the state of Ohio, Pennsylvania, Nevada, Utah, and just within the last 2 weeks in Illinois. This negotiated language options gives a eye care professional an opportunity to opt out of these provisions if they would like, but if they would like to maintain those provisions, can keep those in, and they will still be a part of the network and in the directory. So it allows them a chance to opt out. At the same time, it protects the out-of-pocket cost for consumers. I'll turn it over to Mike Alonso to review the proposed draft amendments, if it is okay with the chair.
Thank you for your testimony. You may begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, for the record, I'm Michael Alonso here on behalf of NAVCP. As Mr. Roberts said, there's 2 amendments. We were not able to come to agreement with Mr. Hillary's client, and what they sent back to us, which we didn't agree to, then got submitted as an amendment. So we spoke to you, Chair, and let the sponsor know, and also the proponent, that we would be submitting this so we could at least provide the differences. And I'll just briefly go through those differences. In subsection 1 of section 1, that is the language Mr. Roberts was talking about that is in green as a condition of participation require a provider vision care 2. And what that does is allow that provider to opt in or opt out. And that provides that disclosure to the insured that provider is providing the discounts or they're not providing the discounts. So we think that's really important. I mean, the proponents talked about providing full information to consumers, and that would provide full information to consumers. The other significant change is in subsection 4 of section 1. In the disclosure, they deleted the language related to rebates and rewards programs, and that's in our version. We think if you're going to make the disclosure, it's not just ownership. Some optometrists have ownerships in labs. They have other pecuniary interests. But there's also a lot of rebate and rewards programs where they receive benefits for sending a patient to a lab. And so we believe that those things should be disclosed. We had some discussion with the other side about that they thought that disclosure meant they had to specify what the rewards and rebates are, and we tried to make that clear, that we're just requiring the general disclosure that there is the existence of rebates or reward programs. And with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Committee members, any questions? I don't think so. Thank you. Is there anyone else in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition? I believe I see someone in Las Vegas. Please state and spell your name for the record, and you may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon. My name is Stacie Sasso, Stacie Sasso. I'm the Executive Director for the Health Services Coalition. The coalition represents 26 employer and union-sponsored self-funded health plans in Southern Nevada, including the Metropolitan Police Department, firefighters, various gaming employers, and union health plans, including culinary, Teamsters, electricians, plumbers, and others. The coalition is in opposition of SB 134 as proposed. There will be a direct impact to our members' out-of-pocket expenses, as well as a potential increase in cost of care that may be passed down to the health plans we represent. The coalition negotiated the same provisions out of the vision bill brought by the same proponents last session, and we would like them amended out of this bill again. With the provisions remaining, the coalition remains in opposition. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in the room with you? I don't see anyone. Thank you. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in opposition?
Callers, if you'd like to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 134, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you. We will move to neutral testimony. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral? I don't see anyone. I don't see anyone in Las Vegas. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
If you'd like to testify in neutral for Senate Bill 134, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers in neutral at this time.
Thank you. Senator, would you like to give any closing remarks?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I appreciate you hearing the bill today, and I'm going to let Mike go ahead and respond to some of the issues that were brought up. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Michael Hillerby with the Nevada Optometric Association. Again, it is not our intent that discount plans wouldn't exist, including for AARP and others, but that those should be negotiated separate from the actual insurance contract itself. That should be a standalone piece that the practice can make a decision about and respond to the needs of their patient and their community. In terms of the Health Services Coalition, I was negligent in not pointing out to the committee when I testified. We did, in fact, meet. They were gracious enough to meet Ms. Sasso and some of her members with some of ours, including Dr. Quentin, that was on the phone earlier, to talk about the importance of this to the association and the patients that we serve. It was a very cordial meeting. Ultimately, we were not able to agree, and hence why we brought the bill. But I do want to acknowledge we did spend time with them, and they were gracious enough to do that and try to work through those issues. And ultimately, we weren't able to agree, which is why we're here. So thank you very much. We'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Committee members, any additional questions? I don't see any. Thank you, and thank you for being here today with us for two bills. I will now close the hearing on Senate Bill 134. I will now open up for public comment. Please address your remarks to issues that fall within the jurisdiction of this committee. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes per person. Please remember to state and spell your name for the record.
Casey Rogers for the record. When people take the time to drive here to come to speak to you face to face, there is a reason for that. When you're supposed to let that happen, when you stifle it with your bogus 10 minutes on such an important, controversial subject, you just look like a crime boss. Maybe that's your aim. We don't write you because we know you ignore most of us, if not all of us. Rumor has it we're not your constituents, so you ignore us anyway. We're sitting here in front of you, and I'm telling you right now that I come in here trying to be as respectful as I can, as much as I hate the murderous criminal bills coming through. But you demand respect, and I demand respect. That's the bottom line. There's one thing I want to read, a quote. It's when you start to realize, and I quote, "It's when you start to realize inconsistencies or hypocrisies or lies, and you notice them, and you give somebody the benefit of the doubt, or you trust them, and you think it's all right, but over time, you see it's not an isolated incident. It's a pattern of behavior. And over time, that exposure to inconsistency builds and builds until it's something you can no longer ignore." End quote. End quote by Edward Snowden. I just like to say that when people come in here and there's a big group of us and I drive all the way here to come speak to you, I expect my time. Now, I didn't get to speak on that abortion bill because you stifled it, and I want that to be known.
I appreciate your time and I appreciate your public comment. Is there anyone else here in Carson City wishing to give public comment? I don't see anyone. I don't see anyone in Las Vegas. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
If you'd like to provide public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to provide public comment at this time.
Thank you so much. Committee members, any comments or questions? I don't see any. This concludes our meeting for today. Our next meeting will be Friday, May 12th. This meeting's adjourned.